Okay, the common writer talk has ended.
Because I'm gonna be thinking about the last episode my friend and I watched for like years. It's so good. It's just like in general the story is just it's eaten. So good.
Oh my god. Oh god. Thank you for the follow, Star Spangled Rage. How are you after
Welcome,
work?
welcome. Good job.
Wait, did you unfollow and refollow, or is that just like a late update?
That would be
Unfollow and
really
refollow.
funny. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Unfollow for Common Writer, refollow for Common Writer.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh, okay. So you hate me. That's the thing. Okay.
Damn.
Damn.
Damn. SMH.
HMS?
Head my shake.
Head my shake.
My head. My med.
Head my shake.
Head my shake.
Head me shake. Head me shaking.
Okay, guys, I have to end this. I have to end the stream right now.
What the fuck?
Okay, guys, thanks for watching.
We're going to have like half a year for someone to finish ISO before I actually fold them for the bit. Oh, fiery. That's so cruel. So cruel. Okay, we gotta make sure that my save actually saved, because I did get a little pop-up about
we're on day 3 investigation. That sounds right to me.
It sounds correct.
Yeah.
Last time we played 6? Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How is it?
I love gaming.
I didn't
October
even...
19th, 3:27 p.m. right in call law offices.
Yeah.
Thank you. I forgot about this bit.
What do you mean you forgot? Never forget.
Never forget.
That was a close one, huh, Mia?
Really? Too bad. I'm sorry. I missed it.
She's back. God damn it. No, I'm kidding.
What the fuck?
Why would you say this?
Why would you say this?
Question mark emoji? Oh? See, the difference is I deal with Squid on a daily basis for at least 8 hours. I mean, you deal with me now like once a week. You will live. Maya.
So, what happened?
Oh yeah.
How was it out?
I forgot that she like didn't show up at all.
It was all Mia, Mia, fuck, wait.
The other one.
Oops, all Mia from Mia.
Oops, all Mia.
My brain. Oops, all Mia.
Only Mia.
Well, I think I've got a pretty good idea who did it. I guess. You're pretty confident. Now all I need is a motive and proof.
And proof.
It was Gumshoe, actually. Aha.
Yeah, it's because he wooed all over the place that one time. You remember?
Yeah.
I remember.
He was acting really suspicious. Pronouncing all his R's as
Oh wait, we're on the
W's.
Steel Samurai case. Oh my god, I like hallucinated that we were somewhere else at a different case.
Did you think we finished? Oh my god.
No, I thought we were somewhere else. Yeah, for some reason, I think. Oh, you know what it is? It's because I was like sleep deprived and I was listening to like someone else like playing like a different Ace Attorney.
That's so
like,
fair.
One of the later cases of like maybe the second game. Yeah, no, I was spacing. I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
What? Wait a minute. What are they talking about? I'm like, oh yeah.
Wow, good going, Nick.
Wow.
You did
it. Thank you. Under the initial trial system, tomorrow is the last day we have.
Initial trial? What's that?
Stupid law.
It's girl.
It's the plot law.
It's the plot law.
Plot law.
She's not a lawyer. She's 17. She can have the pass.
She has the pass. She can do anything. You can do anything when you're 17.
Thank you for the follow, the stranger. Welcome in.
Welcome, welcome.
The stranger.
I
I just noticed your follow is not.
I know, it's still the Ghost Tricks follow. I keep forgetting.
Really funny.
It lingers.
It lingers.
I smell homosexuals in my chat. That's the
What?
new court system they introduced 2 or 3 years ago.
Gay people in this
Gay people
economy?
in my
What?
chat, in my
And you're
Wow.
not gay
heterosexual
chat?
chat.
Wow.
In your very cis het
Uh,
chat?
oh,
I can't even
No.
say it. I
No,
can't
don't
even
do
say
that. I don't like
I'm gonna
that.
puke. I'm
I
gonna
don't like
puke.
that either. That was
Why would you
bad.
say that? That's fucked up.
I'm sorry. That was bad. That was rude of me.
How could you?
I apologize for my actions.
They had so many cases in this system, they decided to speed the whole process up.
Hmm.
So, under that system, trials had to end in 3 days?
Yeah, pretty much.
What the fuck?
Well, we've no time to waste. We literally have 1 day, or else we are cooked. We are
Cooked.
absolutely fucked.
Well,
You're donezo.
Oh, look over here.
Like, imagine the amount of cases, like, how many cases are necessary.
Yeah, how
Like-
much
like,
how much
for you to-
murder
for
has
to get to that
happened?
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of crimes and like just like issues and disorganization in this country must be wild. I mean, you know what? Actually, that makes sense to me. Look at this universe.
yeah.
I guess.
But I guess that also means that lawyers are very important now.
Yeah.
Clearly, since they could just waltz in anywhere and be like, "I'm gonna investigate this."
Yeah. Like, don't
Work.
worry, police officers. The detective, the freaking
The lawyer.
attorney. Yeah.
The not detective, just a lawyer.
Yeah, the
I guess that's
lawyer
just
with
how the world
no-
building works. Alongside also something about, I remember seeing something about how it being ever so slightly different in Japanese courts, but it's like an amalgamation of that, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dark age of the law with forged evidence. Who do we know that forges evidence? The Steel Samurai.
The Steel Samurai forges evidence?
Maybe. No.
I mean, that is what we
mean-
discovered last time.
Side eye. Okay. I don't get it, Maya. Why would Mr. Hammer steal why would Mr. Hammer steal the steel samurai costume? Why would Mr.
Steal
Hammer
the
steal
steel.
the steel samurai costume?
Why would he steal Samurai the Steel Samurai costume? He Samurai stole the Samurai Steel costume.
You samurai
Steel Samurai
stole.
costume. You Samurai stole. You Samurai thief.
Uh-oh.
Miki?
What? You mean
Sorry,
Mr.
did I-
Hammer was wearing a costume?
Were you? Oh yeah, Maya wasn't paying attention in court. We have to give her the recap.
That's fair, yeah. Yeah.
She was being possessed.
Yeah. But Mr. Hammer was the victim, Nick.
Oh, Maya. You
Steal the steel.
big dumb idiot.
Why would he go through the trouble of stealing it?
That's like to
what we
commit a
have to find
murder,
out.
obviously.
Yeah, he wanted to myrtle.
He wanted to stab someone with the samurai spear. Cause it'd be awesome.
Because it would be so epic.
It would be so cool. It would be the most incredible Super Samurai movie the world has ever seen.
It would be so awesome.
Oh god.
What happened with
Really?
the director's testimony?
We're only 22 minutes in. We've lost all our brain cells already. What are something's
I don't
wrong
think I
with
had any to begin with, to be
Yeah, that's
honest.
fair.
us.
Well, it's pretty clear it's pretty clear that the producer and the director were both in the trailer,
Huh.
which means that the killer has to be one of them.
Really? Why?
Because the real scene of the crime was Studio 2, where that trailer is.
What?
Oh?
Was Maya always this excitable? I would say so, yes. Well, have you noticed anything that might help us?
I can't see what's going on when Mia is here. So, no, I haven't noticed anything.
Right.
Maybe we should go talk to WP?
WP. Powers. Right. He
You
already
forget?
forgot. You already forgot.
He forgot.
He forgot. I mean, he's just like me for real, but you know.
Oh, hey.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Mr. Wright, you did very well again today. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks. An avocado.
An avocado.
Thanks.
Could you not look like you're about to burst into tears?
Wow, Nick, you must have wowed him in there.
Wow.
And could you wipe that
Wow.
grin off your face?
No, it's
So
permanent.
evil.
Hey, WP, only one day left.
Until you
And we'll
die.
die.
Till you die. You better make it count. Go kill some more people. I never believed in you.
I mean, basically, you already said this.
You already said, let's make it count. You have become Maya.
There's a reason Miki
Maya
gets
has
typecast.
become onto you.
What the fuck?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Ew, why would you say this to me? I'm kidding.
I would just say this to Miki.
All all characters are chosen by Miki. This is not. It's not my fault.
What the heck?
Oh, yes. Though there's not really anything I can do to help.
I'm not really sure what I can do either.
Oh, what? Great, thank you.
No problem.
Please, this is no laughing matter.
Yes, it is.
Producer. This is the lady, I think. Yes.
Yeah, Miss Diva. Miss D. Vasquez.
That diva.
That
Who's
diva.
that diva?
Work diva.
Could you
Yeah.
tell me
This
more
is the
about
one
Miss-
we like, right?
Work boots to the house down. Work at Hunty Queen.
The
girl-
D. Vasquez.
lady
Yeah,
with-
she's the hot lady.
This is a really hot lady that I was voicing.
She's totally the killer, isn't she?
I hope she is. Could you tell me
Because
more?
I
she's-
really
sexier.
want the other guy to go to jail.
Oh,
though.
you're right. I really do want him to go to jail or die.
really want him to go to jail.
I want him
It's
to
like
die.
Sherlock Holmes. You get to choose who goes to jail.
Can we choose? Can we have
That'd
a
be so
majority vote on who goes to jail?
Can they both go to
Oh
jail?
no.
Because it'll make
I
her
think-
hotter, and he will get what he deserves.
Yeah. I can go with that.
Technically, yes.
I mean, okay, we'll see.
Uh,
Could you tell me more about Miss Vasquez?
oh, the producer? She's well respected in the industry. They say she's a genius. Genius.
A genius?
She's a genius.
She's a genius.
She's been at Global Studios for 5 years now. Right or wrong, nobody dares tell her different these days.
Being 4 seconds, my will.
Cause she's a genius.
Genius.
The Venus.
Cause she's a genius.
She's Jesus?
Oh,
She's also.
She's Jesus
Christ?
H. Christ?
She's Jesus.
Why
Holy
is
shit!
that?
I've always wanted to meet Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
Live in person? God really is a woman.
Oh my
If you
god.
take over the place of the producer, you get to become Jesus.
You have to become.
Holy shit.
Why is that?
Ever since she came on board, we've had nothing but hits. Cause she's Jesus.
Because she's Jesus.
Literally a miracle worker.
Oh my god.
Global Studios was on its knees, but she picked it up and made it shine. But then put all the rest of us on our knees. Oh,
Yeah.
and...
I was trying to formulate a joke like that. I couldn't
You-
get it.
Oh, and
And
so-
what?
he's so like he's very much like that smiling face emoji that I always use with the bracket, the square bracket.
Oh, square
love
So
bracket.
that's
Yeah.
the face he has.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, he does.
You're
He
so
looks
right,
just like
actually. You're so
Nothing,
right.
forget it.
Ooh.
I've only heard rumors anyhow. I'm just a baby.
Director Manila.
Director
man.
Manila. Guy named Salmonella.
I hate this guy.
Hate
Can you
He'll
tell
him.
me
probably
about
get salmonella. It'll be fine.
He's gonna give
hope
me
he
a
gets
disease if he looks
salmonella.
at me, actually.
He's gonna give you salmonella.
He's gonna give me salmonella.
Salmonella.
Salmon.
You know what I mean.
Salmon.
He's gonna give you an entire fish.
He's gonna,
And
he's
you
gonna reach in
will
his
like
pocket
it.
and give you a whole fish.
And you will like it.
You have no, you
Oh.
have no say.
You have no rights.
Salmon.
Can you tell me anything about Mr. Manila?
Oh, he used to be a minor straight-to-video director. But something in his work caught Vasquez's eye. Because he's a gamer. She brought the Steel Samurai idea to him.
Hmm.
Now everyone knows the name, Sal Manella. I hear he's pretty much at her beck and call, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
I think
willing.
anyone would be.
I think that's pretty willing.
To be honest.
That's everybody, to be
Whenever she
honest.
says jump, he asks how high and all that.
Uh-huh.
Why hasn't she told him to jump off a...
I can imagine him
Phoenix.
being at her beck and call, though I can't imagine him jumping.
Phoenix.
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 I mean, I'm all for dunking on
Just
this
because,
guy, but
like,
come on.
we could dunk on the man, but come on.
Damn.
Mr. Hammer.
Phoenix, don't be cringe.
Don't be cringed, Phoenix. You're only 25.
In this dated old game.
Imagine
You're
being
only
almost
25.
25.
Imagine being almost 25.
Wow, imagine
Imagine
being
almost being
25.
25.
Oh
Squid.
no.
I can't believe it. That's crazy.
I have to leave.
Actually, I have plenty of time, unlike Squid here, so...
Plenty of time. You have a few months.
Yeah, that's plenty of time. Do you know how many crimes I could commit in that time?
Oh my god.
Being under 25 does not omit you from crimes.
What?
Who says?
No, no. No.
Oh no.
Oh, fuck.
No! I was wondering about Mr. Hammer. He was a big star back in the day, right?
A star.
But then he just dropped off the face of the earth.
Oh. Yes, you're right. In fact, he was my role model when I started in this business.
Fiery, I'm so sorry.
Hold on, let me.
No, huh? Gamers, no, I'm in the chat.
I'm sorry.
Oh no.
What happened?
I don't remember.
I forget.
Old. That's your
Oh.
answer.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh,
Fire, I
lol.
keep thinking that you're younger than me. I keep forgetting.
Ah,
I don't know why.
In spirit.
Yeah. In spirit, you were just a baby.
is that a read?
I'm so sorry.
What?
It's not my intention to read.
Unfortunately, your immature aura has. No, no, no.
Ah!
Oh, no, no, I'm kidding.
That's not what I
Mm.
mean.
I'm goofing. I'm
What
goofing.
the heck?
What the heck?
What the heck? Did we read this
Younger
one?
than my Wonder Brother. Lol.
Lol.
I'm baby, actually.
Yeah, I is baby. Everyone point and laugh.
One point and laugh.
Haha.
I'm full of youth,
He's
unlike you.
baby.
Full of
Well, who's
youth?
the one laughing when I have 3 extra years to live? I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Oh, God.
No! I
Cursed.
agree, Squid.
Yeah,
is-
no.
You is not
I'm
baby.
old. I'm
Sorry.
ancient.
I can't believe you're
You're
old,
baby.
Squid. That's crazy.
We're literally all baby.
No, I'm old.
We're
Everyone's
literally
baby
all
except
young.
me.
We're in
I'm
our
old.
youth. We're literally in our prime, Squid.
We
What
are
are
in
you
fact
talking
in our
about?
prime.
Nuh-uh,
We're
not
literally
me.
in what the people call, like, our prime.
I never
That is
peaked, and I
true.
will never peak. I'll peak when I'm 80. That's what it is.
You'll peak when you're 80 because you'll die.
You're gonna
Yeah,
slam dunk in the basketball
That's
court.
as far as you can go.
My peak is when I die.
That's what I'm
Damn!
saying. I'm always saying this. That's like my mother. That's what my mother's always saying.
Your mom is at her peak
She's-
at all times. I love your mom.
She is at her peak.
That is
Like she's
true.
like always like saying like I want to work until I die. And I'm like you're wild, mother, but I
That's
love that
crazy.
for you.
I could
Like, that's what she
never.
wants.
I already want to retire. What the fuck?
Well, I think she's just like very passionate about, I guess, I don't know,
Yeah,
stuff.
but your mom likes what she does, doesn't she?
Yeah.
So that's the
Kind of.
difference.
She gets tired, but she does like what she
That's the
does.
difference.
She's
She
a
likes what
hospice
she does.
aide.
Oh,
My mother.
very nice, very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. I can't
Very
remember. Did we do
good.
this one?
Oh, hold on. There were fucking ads. But, I did not read it. Oh, yes. We're talking about Hammer. Mr. Jack Hammer.
Squids-
Jacked Hammer.
Squids finds a way to stop things from becoming mold, and that's the end. What?
Huh?
That's when you peak. When you stop
Squids-
mold.
When I start
It
molding?
stops things from becoming mold.
Not when you start molding, when you can stop mold altogether.
Oh.
When you start molding, that's your peak.
When I start molding.
Crazy!
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, well, I didn't read that. Oops.
I asked you like
Nerve.
twice!
I said I
Is there a
didn't,
record?
and I was going to.
Oh my god. Anyways.
It's okay.
He
That's
was
when
talking about
began
roles.
appearing in little productions at Global. So he used to be big, but then now he's not. Sucks to suck, I guess.
Sucks to suck.
Something happened.
How could he do that? I was really looking forward to the sequel. What?
Mhm.
I was really looking forward to a sequel to Samurai Summer.
Samurai Summer
Yeah.
2.
There we go.
Electric
Yeah. Samurai Summer 2.
Go to the loo.
Whoa, for what?
Drug.
Me and the samurai. Isn't the Samurai Summer like the romance one?
I think it is.
I think.
Yeah, it's one of them. He just gave up being a star 5 years ago. Actually, now that I think about it, that was right when Miss Vasquez came to Global.
5 years ago? When I was 20?
You were probably still, I don't know, not an attorney.
I don't have anything to show him, right? No. I don't.
Show him your badge.
Have you checked this out? Excuse me? Thank you for showing me that, whatever it is. I don't really get it. I wish I could think of some way for me to help you.
You can eat it. That'll help.
Sorry. You made him cry!
I'm sorry!
Damn!
I can show him
believe it.
this probably. Have you seen this, Mr. Powers?
What's that?
Yeah, I was thinking he's kind of like a Wolverine Sabretooth or something.
Big guy. I've never seen these steel samurais in my life.
These are the Steel Samurais that appear at live shows.
The suit actors.
Damn.
A fanboy collected all these pictures himself.
Seeing things like this really makes me think. I've been so much to these kids, you know? Sniff.
Okay. So... I guess... The only other place to go is here.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh, fuck.
It's-
Okay.
Skeletor.
Global Studios main gate.
It's Skeletor.
It's me, Skeletor.
Did she have a stroke? Is she good? The old windbag sure is quiet today. You know, this place is really peaceful like this.
Is she,
Oh my God,
is she
she's dead.
good? Is she like
I
medicated?
think she's
or
dead.
She's dead.
She's blinking. Nick? I think her guard's down.
something? Or what's in her life? Yeah?
I bet we could even eat these donuts in the guard station. If we wanted.
Maya.
We should do it!
Maya.
You eat, you die.
Oh,
You eat
Oh.
it and you die. Sorry, I've gone full Skeletor. Let me get out of there.
No, that's where it
He's-
belongs.
No, I can't. I can't. I can't. I shan't. It's gonna.
She's
it's gonna come back
alive!
Eve.
into- I mean, I guess I know what character I'm voicing in our eventual Undertale stream.
I guess, yeah.
Hey, that tells you actually exactly.
Congratulations! You've been
Congratulations,
casted!
you've been casted.
You've been casted!
My typecast guy with a yeah voice. Any character with a meh. Yeah.
Producer Vasquez.
Oh god.
I was wondering about D. Vasquez, the producer.
Oh, the studio bigwigs love her. So she always gets her way. It's because she's hot.
She seems
It's because
better.
she's really sexy.
Yeah. I'm totally not jealous.
I'm totally not jealous.
Do you not like the producer?
Fuck no.
Oh.
I hate
But she's
her.
really hot!
That means nothing to me.
Why?
I'm literally 70.
You can still
You
appreciate.
can still think a
Look, the
lady's
studio
hot.
people don't want me talking about her, so sorry.
Director
I'll
Manila.
get fired, which I'm surprised I haven't been fired yet.
Oh,
I
real.
will take her being Ace. Ace
Real
70-year-old, yeah, hell yeah.
I'm an asexual 70-year-old, but I will hit on young men
We
for some
What?
reason.
I will exclusively try to
will
get in the pants of
exclusively
that
hit
big,
on-
wide detective.
Oh
No.
yeah, I forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mr. Edgeworth.
I totally
Miles
forgot that was a
Edgeworth,
thing.
and I love Jack Hammer. I just think young, handsome men are incredibly good and can do no wrong.
Yeah. Kill.
Uh,
What murder?
what murder? Well, no, not what murder. That's Jack Hammer, poor guy. Hot man supreme.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw that you put in the Ace flag. That's why I said Ace. That's
Mhm.
why. My apologies. I do know the difference between arrow
I
Ace.
bring the edge to Edgeworth is wild. I'm Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. I'm Ace with one exception. I bring the edge into Edgeworth. A big wide detective. Don't worry
Yeah, I was
about
talking about Detective Gumshoe. He's a fucking fridge with legs.
Arrow and Ace aren't the same thing, but we're talking about the sexy,
Mm-mm.
the sexyisms.
There's
And
a
that's
difference between
unrelated.
wanting to fuck and appreciating, you know?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
There's
I'm
a
out here
difference.
appreciating every day. Like those tokusatsu
Mhm.
actors are so beautiful. I've never been like gay, like man gayer in my life than like my experience watching Kamen Rider. They're all,
Oh,
why are they
of
so
course.
handsome?
Of course.
Mm.
Yeah. Have you heard of my wife?
Can I ask you about
My-
Salmonella, the director? We have to know.
We can't have to move on. Sal, he's a soft but pushover. He's soft, a pushover. Does whatever Vasquez tells him to.
We need like an Aya Common Writer hour.
Oh, it's just where me just yapping about how much I like Kamen Rider X8 and also Kamen Rider Gav that comes out every Sunday. She treats him like dirt, but I think he likes it.
He's a
A
freak.
freak.
Yeah.
That freak. Yeah.
He's real.
To be fair, who wouldn't?
Huh? Why would anyone like being treated like dirt?
Oh, Maya.
Phoenix.
Oh, Maya.
Yeah.
Look at the man
Phoenix.
standing next to you.
Why would anyone like being treated like dirt, Phoenix?
Looks directly at Phoenix.
Phoenix. That doesn't make any sense, does it, Nick? Uh-huh.
Oh, he literally
Uh-huh.
he literally does that. No, it doesn't, Maya. He's like sweating profusely. Mr. Hammer. Mr. Hammer. About Mr. Hammer.
Arg!
Sorry.
Okay. You're her. I heard about what you said today, cheeky whippersnapper. You oh god. Poor old Hammer, you drag a star down from the sky and stomp on it. calling him a criminal, a thief. Okay. I won't forget this.
Oh. He's
Oh.
really pissed this time.
You can tell because she lost her pupils.
Yeah. Hey.
They went away.
I took
You
them.
listen to me, whippersnapper. My poor old hand would never do such a thing. Yeah, why would he steal Powers' costume so he could sneak by me? He would never stoop so low. It's impossible.
Alright, great talking to you. Just gonna move
Okay,
on.
cool.
Just gonna move on. Let's go over here.
Move.
You know, I wasn't expecting to see pissed in this game. Well, I guess. I didn't even it didn't even register.
Yeah, this isn't that bad. It's alright.
It could be worse.
It's not one of those dirty
Yeah.
cuss words. Not in my
Yeah, well,
Christian
dirty
Minecraft
cuss
server.
words. Oh yeah, sure.
I guess they're not filming today either. I did once see them filming, just one time.
This trial will be over and done by tomorrow. You can come see them film later.
I guess. This is where you found that bottle of sleeping pills, right?
Uh-huh.
I wonder if there are any other clues lying around.
The searcher.
Oh.
Yarg!
Oh, I wanted. Am I doing up
Oh.
sure? Are you doing up sure?
I only let him because it was the Mickey talk hour last time, but
Oh,
like
true. No, touching.
Oh.
Do you want to do it?
No, when I'm trying to drink my Gatorade. Hold on.
No touching.
No touching.
Eek!
Hey, Detective Gumshoe.
Oh, sorry, pal.
Sorry.
Didn't mean to frighten you. Didn't mean. I almost had a heart attack. I guess I can be a little dramatic at times.
Dramatic.
I suppose it's the actor in me.
There's an actor in you?
Yes.
Right
an actor
now?
in
While
you?
you're standing here looking at me?
No.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
I think I have to
Hiding
call
him
the
behind my
police.
trench coat, Steve.
I am the police.
Oh, you're right. Fuck!
I am the police. You can't tell me what to do.
Dramatique indeed.
Ahem. Anyway, I'm here to examine the play on the table.
Wait, are you looking for sleeping pills?
Yeah, pal. Twice as thereof.
Yeah, I betcha. The plate.
So, you're looking for traces of the sleeping pills. How? For thorough examination, I gotta take the plate back to the precinct.
The precinct.
But I have the capabilities to make a cursory examination right here. Our science guy gave me some testing solution.
Science guy? Is he Bill Nye, the science guy?
I can't tell that information to you.
Oh, okay.
This reacts to these sleeping pills, see? If there's traces, it'll change color.
Okay. My joke was bad, I'm sorry.
Wow! Neat. Well, Detective Gumshoe, what are you waiting for? Now, everyone, in due time, pal.
Oh.
Oh, whoopsies.
He's not cool enough to be Bill Nye? I see.
True.
Really ought to watch the VODs. Well, for you, you're in luck because like 2 or 3 of those VODs are not Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
We
That is
kind of had
true.
a couple weeks of breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of me going, I simply cannot.
I cannot go on.
And then I lay down, and then we don't do Ace
Because
Attorney.
of my old decrepit age bones. No.
No!
No. Fiery. I love
Well,
this drink.
testing solution on the plate change Quo all white.
White. I probably need a massage for my decrepit young bones that are also in shambles despite my young age. My
It do be like that sometimes.
sprightly age.
Bill, Nye the Science. Sorry. So the food on this plate has been laced with sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Looks like it. Wait.
Steak plate added to the court record.
Mm-hmm.
Aquamarine stretch. Thank you, Aqua.
The
How are you?
stretcher.
Welcome in.
Oh no, stretching. Oh.
Ow, I stretched and I broke my
Oh
neck.
god.
Oh,
How
no.
could you do that? My
I
neck.
felt like seven
decrepit.
seven
So
pops in my
old.
back.
Oh, I crunched.
Oh god.
Oh my
A friend of mine says sometimes my neck cracking catches on mic.
Mm.
Like really loud, and
Sometimes when I crack my neck, it sounds like my bones are breaking.
god.
It's awesome. It's so
Well.
fun.
This happens at least once a day.
Yeah. You can have
Oh,
one bone crack a
no.
day. No, you gotta
The
posture check and
investigation.
hydrate with my man.
I gotta unshrimp.
You gotta unshrimp yourself. I know.
I
I
It's,
do
it's so
agree
hard.
that the ones that sound like fractures are the best, though.
It's just so satisfying.
It is very satisfying. However, my mother always looks at me so concerned whenever I do that.
Yeah.
Because I always do it so quickly. Because, like, you know how you snap your neck
Mm-hmm.
and you hear it? And I do it so quickly. No, it's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like that motion.
Mm-hmm.
And
You do
and
it. You
it
just do
makes
it,
the
and then
sound.
it cracks, and then you're done, and you get back to normal.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
the
Then
people
you're
around
normal
you are
again.
like,
Everyone is concerned, but, like, it's satisfying.
It's not like I'm gonna snap anyone else's neck.
Only
Yeah,
my
it's
own.
Let me
okay
do it
if
to
it's
myself.
mine. Oh, I can.
I can
Oh,
crack
actually,
my thumbs.
I
My
just cracked them. I can't do it
my
again.
thumbs make little little
Mhm.
clickies. I don't know if the mic will pick them up.
There you go.
I don't think they
I
will.
know my right wrist can crack on, like, command.
On
can-
command.
I can
Yeah.
pop the middle of my foot.
Oh.
I get a lot of
Oh.
tension in my feet, and it builds up like right in the middle of my foot. So I'll like bend it one
Hmm.
direction, and it'll pop.
Ugh.
Yeah, I
Rice
have feet.
Krispies.
I hate to break it to you guys. I have feet.
Yeah,
No,
you
you
never
don't.
see it, but
No,
he
you
does
don't.
have them. I can call up Keeks and be like,
Oh,
"Here's
that's
your
true.
Show the
treat."
toes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Discussion reminded me of a stand-up routine where someone was talking about chiropractors' apparent obsession with cracking people's bones. I hear it's satisfying.
It is satisfying. It's like popping bubbles, but with your bones.
I do need to go to a chiropractor. I feel like
Mm.
something has misaligned.
Mhm. I know something is misaligned and I'm not gonna fix it. I know my sins, but I won't do anything about them.
Oh my gosh. How goes your investigation?
To tell the truth, it's a real mess, pal. Some people think we should pursue the case we already have against Powers. When some people think we should switch suspects.
Squin squum squeeple.
Mhm.
Squan squum squeeple.
No,
Squeak,
let's not
squeak.
start this. Let's
Do you want to see a bit squint?
No,
I can do
no,
it.
no, no, no,
I
no,
can
no,
do
no,
it.
no, 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 no,
I
no,
can
no,
do
no,
it.
no, no,
I'm just
no.
saying, I
I could not control myself when I said that, and I don't want this to become a bit for this
Look what you've
stream.
done.
Once every couple lines, I'm gonna do that, and you will not expect it.
No,
Thank you.
no. Guys,
bad.
we've started doing something terrible recently, and I sometimes I can't help it. Sometimes it just happens. Where we just add like SQU to the beginning of the words. Like
Yeah, 'cause
we like
squid.
squidify the word. Oh my god, I can't stop doing it.
Me squill squever, squinancially, squicover, squam squiss.
Sometimes
That's true.
conversations will just happen and it's all that. I can't. Sometimes it's in my brain. And
Squiss.
I don't know. Don't do it. We're not
And I do
starting
it like
this.
every once in a while, randomly.
I
with
mean,
no
you're
warning.
gonna
Sometimes you
do
just
it
get the
anyways.
urge. Sometimes you just get the urge.
I won't do it all the time.
You will.
Gumshoe, I'm so sorry this has happened to you, but
Gumshoe, I'm
you're
so
just like our punching
sorry.
bag at this point.
It's awesome.
There were just a lot of S's, and it triggered
Mhm.
something in my brain.
What do you think, Detective Gumshoe? Well, pal, I hate to admit it, but I'm not sure I can buy the case against Mr. Powers anymore. I feel kind of bad for Mr. Edgeworth, though.
Why?
I
Don't feel bad for him. He's an asshole.
feel bad for
Okay.
Mr. Elwood.
I love him, but he's an asshole.
The continuous addition of bits, it's not even like intentional. We just do this.
It just happens.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
this is like when we're just chatting.
When we
It
just
also
talk
with,
to each
geeks and
other,
stuff.
new bits
Yeah.
occur.
Stupid garbage bits just keep emerging. And it's really good. I like it. It's great.
How is Edgeworth doing anyway? Puts fingers
Why
together.
do you want to know, pal?
How has he said anything about me? Has he?
Hmm,
Has he mentioned me? Or
I
Has he
wonder.
mentioned me at
I
all?
wonder.
I wonder.
Wait.
Mr.
Hell yeah. Oh, I did do a test of an item.
Mhm.
So
What
you
could
can
it
see if
be?
you catch it. I haven't put any I haven't Fiery, I have to like talk to you about what item you want and the Aya as well. I know what Miki wants.
Oh yeah, sure.
We all know what Miki wants.
We all know
I
what
know
Mickey
what
wants.
I know what Miki wants. I can tell you what Miki wants.
I know what Miki wants. But I'll
I
have to
know.
talk to you
I'll
guys
have
about
to
what
think
you
of
want.
something.
Oh, you
I'll have to
wanna
think
be
of
a
something
shrimp?
funny.
Okay, let's be shrimp.
Someone's brooch.
Shrimp.
Choose someone.
Choose.
Choose your favorite person. No, I'm kidding.
Gumshoe.
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 But it's gonna change. It's gonna move scenes.
I
It won't be
know.
his brooch
Well,
anymore.
let's see. I have my attorney's badge. Miki has that little sign, so I'm gonna put it right here on your cravat.
On my. Oh, it's like the jewels that people put
Like
like
the
the
jewels.
pendants.
Yeah,
that
like a
people put on
bolo
the
tie
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Imagine if somebody's jewels, but like the other jewels was the jewel for the cravat. You know what I mean?
They're balls.
They're balls.
Yeah.
Oh.
Beautiful balls.
I don't know. I don't know why my brain
Jewels
went
on your
there. I'm so
balls?
sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're gonna put shrimp on
Why
your
would
balls.
you emboss your
Balls on
balls
a
with
what?
jewels?
What are you saying?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know.
Watcher,
I'm so
where do you want your shrimp?
You got that word association and you made you crazy.
I think it is.
On the blue
Oh,
nameplate.
so funny.
Oh, here? Oh, it's gonna be. Oh no, this is gonna.
No,
this-
make it like a cute icon. Just put it like it's like a cute icon, like right there. No, not a little to the left, a little left, a little left,
Just like right
a
here.
little left.
I'm gonna
Hold on,
shine
I
it like
can't
this,
see.
actually.
Make it so it's like right on the empty blue space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Graphic design.
Graphic design.
Graphic design is my passion.
Maybe I do want to keep it like this.
Yeah.
that's fine.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's
Let's do it this
perfect.
Oh, graphic design.
Graphic design. Hell yeah.
Oh god.
Gosh, everybody.
Mr. Edgeworth is out of control.
He's crying and pissing.
He was in the waiting room and he got crust of his paper cup, hot coffee in it. Yeah.
And he crushed this paper cup with a hot coffee in his hand.
Whoa.
Whoa. Ouch.
Talk about Parnes, pal.
Talk about burns.
Wow, the fury of Edgeworth.
Am I the asshole? I, M24, have feelings for my prosecutor rival M24, who clearly has
Clearly
them for me
has
but
them for
doesn't
me.
know. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Am I the asshole? I keep winning cases against him.
Yeah, crushing paper cups. Get a load of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Cups? Bottles? What? What do you mean by that?
Oh, he had word association. when he
Oh.
remembered.
Me too, man. Me too.
Say,
Mhm.
whatever happened with that empty bottle?
Hated it. Oh, the bottle of sweeping pills? Well, I got some good news for you about that. They found the victim, Jack Hamo's prints on the bottle.
There you go.
So that means... Yep. It sounds like the one who put Powers to sleep was none other than the victim.
Bum bum bum. So I was right. Saving pill bottle added to the court record. Found on the table in the
Iowa.
below area bears Jack Hammer's fingerprints.
Iowa, what is this?
What?
Do you like it?
What am I? What? Oh. Oh, what?
These
What?
are from years ago.
I respect
I feel
it.
like I've seen this before.
Yeah,
I
it's like
respect
2
it.
years ago. 2-3 years ago.
Everybody, for context, Aya has sent Ace Attorney Judge Big Naturals.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's probably not allowed in court, though.
Just like
yeah,
Gandalf Big Naturals. I love
yeah.
that image. It's so funny. Okay, he doesn't have anything else for me.
Also this book.
I don't like the URL to that.
Well, you don't like my new embed URL
I just noticed.
for Twitter X? You don't like it? I've been sending it for a
What is-
while now. I've been using
Oh.
that for that embed link for a
Oh.
while now.
Yeah,
I see.
Do you not like it?
I didn't expect it. I just saw it and I'm like, what the fuck are you sending me? It seems like a malicious link. It feels like one of those
Right? It
spam
feels like
malicious
it would
links.
be.
That's
It
why
feels
I'm
like it would be.
concerned.
Yeah, no, it's just an embed for Twitter.
More context, I guess, guys. Aya has changed the embed link for
For
Twitter to girlcockx.com.
Yeah, it works.
I mean, it works.
I mean, it works.
It's so funny.
I mean, it works.
It's really good. Anyways.
Penny, hello.
Oh, hello. What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Oh, I was just cleaning up the dressing room. I guess WP won't be using it anymore, so... What? Why? But WP's innocent! Yes, and I'm really grateful for all you've done. But... this week is the last episode of The Steel Samurai. What? No!
No!
That was from the heart. I hope you know that.
Mr. Hammer. I was wondering if I could ask you about Mr. Hammer.
Yes?
On the day of the murder, he went to Studio 2.
Huh? I thought he went to Studio 1. He stole the Steel Samurai costume too! What? Why would Mr. Hammer do something like that? Oh. I guess the rumor must be true then. The rumor?
Oh, the intense music. Oh, hold on.
Yeah. Oh? Should I just continue? We've been put on hold.
Yeah, keep going, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, Miss Vasquez, the producer, had some kind of hold on Hammer. She had some dirt on him. He'd do anything she said, apparently. And so would basically everyone else in the studio. To be honest with
Because
you.
she's really beautiful.
I don't blame them. I would too. Some dirt? What dirt?
Dirt.
Dirt. You know, bad stuff. I know what dirt means. About 5 years ago, they were filming a movie starring Mr. Hammer. They were using the new studio, Studio 2. Some sort of accident happened during filming. After that, they never used Studio 2 again. They left the film set the way it was, too.
The film set? Was that trailer part of the film set then? Twitter X may bring combine the two and come up with a parody of Mega Man X featuring the Bluebird websites. I mean, I guess Mega Man is blue.
That's true.
The last episode. Sorry, the last episode. My voice.
Oh,
Me too, man. What do you mean, the last Steel Samurai?
the final Steel Samurai.
I know it's a shock, but nothing can be done to save it now. Whoever really did kill Mr. Hammer also signed the Steel Samurai's death warrant. No, no! Also, I hear that Global Studios is going to change its programming. They're not going to make kids shows anymore. What? Why? I don't know. It's sad, but that's what Global Studios decided.
Studio policy. Why aren't they gonna make kids shows anymore?
The studio bigwigs don't want the Steel Samurai around anymore. They want to forget all this ever happened. They want it quiet, you understand? How can they just do that? What about all the kids who love the Steel Samurai? It's okay. I'm sure the kids will be fine. They'll find a new hero to follow. No, that can't be true! If the program just ends, they'll be heartbroken for sure! Nick! Say something!
What? Does she expect me to do something about it?
Yes!
Well, I can't do anything
You can
about
do
it.
anything!
Okay, well. Yeah. I think evidence rather than words is called for here. Here, take a look at this.
Show your badge.
No. Look at this photograph. No.
Look at
I guess
the
it's
labor
this.
of love.
Yeah. Take that. Slaps her in the face with it.
Yeah.
Take that!
Ah! Why would you hit me?
Sorry, got excited.
And this is?
A fan collected all of these photographs. The kids love the Steel Samurai. The show shouldn't be canceled just so some adults could save face. I would think you would understand that better than anyone.
You're right. Okay. But what can I do?
Well, for starters, you can tell me something.
No. I gotta go.
Tell me what it is that Global Studios is so intent on hiding.
Bye.
Sorry. Tell me about this accident 5 years ago.
Okay.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Flashback. Could you tell us what happened 5 years ago?
Well, I can tell you what I've heard. Apparently, 5 years ago, someone died, and it was Hammer's fault.
Wait a second. What?
Yeah.
And he didn't go to jail?
That's
In-
probably
Probably
not like
a
a
cover-up.
literal, like a direct, maybe like a indirectly it was his fault or something.
If it was indirect, and then they could just
Scandalous.
cover it up, so it was like
Mhm.
fine enough.
Okay.
something like kind of scandal-esque, but not like jail-worthy.
Yeah. Someone died?
5 years ago. That was almost 12 years ago.
It was an accident, of course.
Okay.
Anyway, the producer, Miss Vasquez, managed to hush it up. Okay, so a cover-up of sorts.
And that's the dirt she had on Mr. Hammer?
Oh. And that's why Mr. Hammer would do anything Miss Vasquez asked him to do. Yep. But it was an accident, right? Why didn't they just make it public? Well, you know, Mr. Hammer was a big star back then. They were afraid about what would happen to his career if word got out. I see. You know who knows more about this? Miss Old Bag.
Skeletor, yes.
She was here at the studios back then, you know. She's like ancient.
She's like 1,000 years old.
Oh
She
my
was
god.
here when the dinosaurs were invented.
Thanks. Well, invented.
Yeah, by the aliens.
Oh my god,
Okay.
ancient aliens.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll try asking her if she'll talk. I don't think I want to talk to this girl anymore.
Damn.
Move, employee area.
Off you go.
Move. Gate. Hello, Skeletor.
Hello, Skeletor.
What, you're still slicking around?
Yeah.
If you like the place so much, why don't you take over for me?
The old windbag doesn't look so good.
She might die soon. Everybody's doing their darndest to forget Hammer. Who do they think made Global Studios what it is today? Man. Hammer, it's all due to Hammer. Hammer
She's starting
did.
to Oh god, she's starting to froth the mouth, Nick. Oh no! Oh no!
Hey, we were not invented. We were the inventors of your... Oh my god. Hold on. We were inventors of your ancestors. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm dinosaur.
That is
Guess
true.
what kind? This place was built by and with hammer. What let's dinosaur kin
With a hammer.
device. Ankylosaurus. Anyways.
Speak on that.
Maybe we should keep a safe distance.
She has rabies.
She has rabies. She's frothing at the mouth. I don't
Hey,
think she's
have a
well
little talk.
considered.
Have a little talk
Oh.
with her.
Yeah, I touched the wrong thing.
You silly, silly goose.
It was an accident. It was an accident.
You.
A, B,
5
C, D,
years
E, F,
ago.
G.
You.
I wanted to ask you about 5 years ago.
Oh no.
Who told? Who did you hear that from? Or it's full Skeletor. I can't. I need to go. It needs to be different.
Huh?
Nichols.
Nichols?
Nichols?
Nichols. Nick.
Penny Nichols.
Penny Nichols.
Of course.
That assistant we talked to.
Of course, that's her
Ace
name.
Attorney Names, my beloved. I forgot that was her name.
Course.
I love Ace Attorney Names.
Oh, right.
That's your name.
Anyway, we heard about the accident. It was during filming with Jack Hammer. He killed a man, didn't he?
Whippersnappers. Dredging up dirt on someone's past like that, and the recently departed, no less. I suppose you think this is fun?
No, I'm just doing my job to protect Mr. Powers.
And you claim that Hammer stole Powers' costume.
Well, he did.
You expect him to believe that rubbish?
Yes,
Or do you have some kind of proof?
we do. Proof that Hammer stole Powers' costume, we do. It's the sleeping pills, right?
The photo. Or, yeah. Do we still have the photo Cody showed us that one time? Or is that still in Cody's possession?
That I'm not sure. I have proof. We'll see.
Regardless, you have proof, but...
I'm sorry, Miss Oldbag, but I do have proof. I can prove that Hammer stole Mr. Powers' costume.
The EP pills.
Yes, the pills. I don't have the
pills.
photo.
Okay.
Plus, it has his fingerprints on the EP pills.
Here's my proof.
She's calm again.
What's the little empty bottle supposed to prove?
It's a bottle of sleeping pills with Mr. Hammer's fingerprints on it.
What does that prove? I'm sure old Hammer had some sleepless nights. Where's your proof that you use the pills of Powers?
The food.
The dish?
The
Take
dish.
that! Slaps her with a plate. Mr. Powers ate a T-bone steak for lunch, correct?
Well, yes, so?
This is the plate he used to eat that steak. There are traces of sleeping pill powder on the plate.
Darn! I'm calm now. I see.
She's normal.
I'm normal now. Poor Hammer. You did wrong, Hammer. Rest your soul.
Miss Oldbag?
Okay, you win. I'll talk. I'm tired, see? Tired of holding it all in.
Miss Oldbag.
She throws up. No. You're right. 5 years ago, there was an accident. A fatal accident. What's worse, a paparazzi took a photo of it. That photo, well, it caused quite a stir. And guess who made it all better? Vasquez. She has ties to the mafia. Oh, she is Viviana.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god.
She just is my OC.
Damn.
She silenced that paparazzi. She killed him. That was the
Hell
beginning.
yeah. What?
Did I say that?
Who said that?
After that, who said that? After that,
crazy.
she became a force to be reckoned with here at the studio.
I see.
Throws up a rat. This is a present for my edgy. Not the rat.
But you have to understand. Poor old Hammer never meant any harm to anyone.
Miss Oldbag.
Hold on a minute.
Poor Miss Oldbag.
Here, take this.
Mig.
Look at this photograph.
Oh, look at this photograph.
Look at this
A photograph? Oh. Wait a second.
That was user bent?
Oh, probably.
It's been years. Wait, why haven't they fixed it?
I don't know. Well, they did kind of abandon the studio, didn't they?
Yeah, I guess. But like, they could just
This
get
is
rid of
the
the fencing
picture.
then.
Well, they love their dangerous fencing. They left it there. They didn't
Just
shave
left
it
it
off
like
or anything.
Okay.
This is the picture.
Is this the trailer in Studio 2?
Hammer was supposed to fight with the bad guy on top of those stairs there. He pushed the other actor and the man fell onto the flower box fence.
But how did you get this?
It was a long time ago. I don't feel much like talking about it.
I understand. 5-year-old photo added to the court record. Okay, well,
Oh boy.
I guess let me go to here.
A movement.
Probably talk to like
Shroom.
everybody possible. How sharp is that
Two
fencing?
people
What are
with
they guarding?
you.
Gold flowers? Animal Crossing gold flowers?
Hey man, those blue roses? Fuck.
Oh yeah.
Think back, Nick, to the day of the murder. Mr. Hammer put on the Steel Samurai costume. Then he left from here to go to Studio 2.
Right.
But why? I wonder if someone called him, like the director or the producer?
Hmm.
Well, time to movement. Studio
Uh,
2.
two.
2.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, there
girl.
she is.
Studio 2 entrance.
It's Saya time again. All right.
Yep.
She's very genderful.
Hey Nick, it's Miss Vasquez. Hello? Hello. Oh god.
Oh Jesus.
Hello.
Ellipses.
Hi. Hell. Oh.
Maya, you should
Yep.
at least try to be polite.
Oh
No.
my god. I'm watching the clouds. Okay, girl. Shit.
Okay,
girl.
what's in that pipe, by the way?
Weed.
Weed. That's all she
Fair
had to
enough.
say, apparently.
That's all she's got, I guess.
Mr. Hammer.
I've been doing so much Skeletor, I forgot her voice.
Sharp enough to stand a chance against Cyrano, a garden, and probably some rare, expensive, pretty flowers.
True.
Be nice to my boy Cyrano.
Ugh.
I love that guy.
Excuse me. Mr. Hammer came here on the day of the murder, and
Shush. Shh. Get shushed, idiot.
Get shushed, idiot.
Get shushed, idiot. Shush. Shh. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I'm watching the clouds. I'm not interested in talking to you.
do something, Nick. She's really ticking me off.
Oh.
I'm so mad.
I'm so mad right now.
Oh dear. She's just like me. When she gets mad, she starts to cry.
Real.
Real.
No powers.
Depends on what genre.
Mr. Powers wasn't the killer. You don't have to cancel the Steel Samurai.
I think I'm tired of the Steel Samurai. There's the voice.
You did it. Nick, she did it. She's the killer.
What?
My Fae blood speaks to me. I know it.
You're just angry. Come
Oh
on.
dear. Yeah. Director Manila. I was wondering if you could tell me about Mr. Manila.
Can you give us any proof that he did it instead?
Yeah.
It's
If we
okay.
must talk about that man,
We'll work with you here.
perhaps you could talk about it in the trailer.
Oh.
You know, in an
Oh.
enclosed space where I can fill the room with smoke. Oh, by yourselves,
Oh,
not in front of me.
damn. Oh dear. Damn.
Damn.
What the
She's
heck?
so hot.
So hot, but what the fuck?
She's so cool.
Cool.
And you go, I guess. You can
I guess
examine, I think.
into the trailer I go.
I was gonna say you could examine about, but it's okay. It's fine.
COVID-19 Studio 2 trailer.
When I go back out I can.
Mhm.
Wasn't the assistant cleaning up yesterday?
It looks the same.
Funny, it still seems pretty messy in here.
Yeah, she's bad at her job.
I think it's them making a goof about how they didn't change the background.
Oh.
Probably.
They didn't draw a different background. They just
They could
kept
have
it the
just
way it
had
is.
2 layers and, like,
Yeah,
whatever.
it is.
Yeah, but you could just do one.
That's true.
I guess she was still on a high from getting that rare card she needed.
That is true.
The trading card.
Nothing
Well,
really in here. I don't think so.
you go in and you come out.
Yeah.
You can examine slide.
Probably at the yeah.
Keep the
They could have
thing.
prepared this literally when it happened, but whatever,
Yeah.
I guess.
There's some flowers here.
Wow, so pretty. They're taking good care of these.
Don't get too close. That fence looks dangerous.
And it is. It killed a man.
It is. Well, thank you for your insight, Mr. Wright.
Okay.
Cool. Oh, I forget what you have to do. The fuck are we ball?
Fuckaboo ball.
Mm.
No, nothing new with him.
The thinker. Call me an Ace Attorney murder weapon, because I'm the thinker.
I sure am the thinker.
I don't have any thoughts.
Here we go.
Detective Gumshoe must have left by now.
He's probably thinking about what to do in tomorrow's trial.
I bet Edgeworth is pretty angry with him.
Mm-hmm. Just out of curiosity.
The assistant must have gone off somewhere. That stuff about Mr. Hammer must have come as a shock to her.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna see if maybe there's like... no. Main gate. She didn't have anything else. Do we have anything to show anybody?
Probably the lady, right? Would be my guess.
Oh, yeah, you know what?
Show her shit.
She's not even looking.
Sneeze.
Sorry, I exploded.
Sneeze. Okay.
Where?
What?
Where? Where did you get this piece of image? Where did you get that?
Well,
Old bag.
old?
She means the security lady, Miss Oldbag, Nick.
I'm feigning innocence because then she'll definitely kill that old lady.
Oh, fair enough.
Right. Anyway, Miss Vasquez, you hid this incident from the press, didn't you? And you used it to control Mr. Hammer.
The wind.
Huh?
It's gotten stronger, don't you think? The wind.
She just pulls out a gun and shoots him in the head.
Damn.
Your conversation interests me. Let's talk about it more inside the trailer.
Where no one can see me shoot you in the fucking head.
With
Yeah.
my gun that I have. Where is it? I won't tell.
I won't tell where I hid it.
Nick, she went inside the trailer. Maybe we should follow her.
Okay.
You came.
Did I?
I didn't need to know that.
Take a look. Well then, what was that you were talking about?
Why is she eager to talk all of a sudden?
She's gonna kill you.
Mhm.
Well, I guess he's dead.
I can't believe he died.
I can't believe he died for real.
No, I'm back.
Oh,
Sorry.
shit.
Sorry.
Oh,
I had to mute myself for a second.
Stop!
I'm sorry. I'm
They
sorry.
left us.
Like, oh.
I'm sorry. Okay, Miss Vasquez.
He came and then he died.
Imagine being like that bug who
Oh
comes
my
and
gosh.
dies.
Like a mantis.
Yeah, that
Or
one.
like a spider.
Can't believe
You were
it.
using that accident. You were blackmailing Mr. Hammer so you could control him, weren't you? That's why he was doing kids shows for petty change.
So I'm a blackmailer now.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I just said.
Well, that's what it was, wasn't it? I mean, sure, it was an accident. But you used it to drag Mr. Hammer down from his rightful place as a star.
Oh. I haven't pulled anyone down from anywhere. Mr. Hammer's career went sour of its own accord.
But you were the cause. You pressured him. And to think it was just an accident.
Excuse me. What is this all about? You keep saying accident, accident. How are you so sure?
What do you mean?
Must I spell everything out for you? Think. What would it be if it wasn't an accident?
A prankcident?
A prank.
No. No way. You mean Mr. Hammer did it on purpose?
On purpose?
On purpose?
On purpose? That is what I mean.
I don't. This face
She's a
that she's
different
giving us
sprite.
right now, yeah. Where's your proof? Can you prove it?
She isn't breathing it out either. She was just looking it all up stressfully. And just think. Would he have let me run his life for 5 years over a mere accident? And I ran him hard, believe you me.
I didn't even know that.
The security lady said it.
I
Oh my
ran him
God.
hard and long.
But the security lady said it was an accident.
Oh, well, she was a big fan of hammers, you see. She jumped on the reporter who brought that photo into the studio. She wrenched it out of his hands, she did. Gave him a few bruises, too.
So that's why she had the photo.
She's an old fool. Of course, all the reporter would need is the negatives. He could have made a copy. But he didn't. The only copy of that photo is the one you hold. Give it to me now.
What? This is valuable evidence.
Boys,
Oh my god.
the boys are here.
The boys.
The boys. Gulp. Who are they?
Professionals. They're good at erasing various things. What do you think? Would you like to be erased?
This is a cunty like screenshot.
Right? It's awesome.
real.
I love her.
This is awesome, actually.
This is so sick.
Uh,
What?
the trial ends tomorrow? How unfortunate. It's a shame you'll have to miss it.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Tell me why.
Why do you want this photograph so badly? This is Mr. Hammer's dirt, no? Why should D. Vasquez care about it at all?
I'm sure you'll have plenty of time to think about that where you're going.
Hell. You're
Ugh,
going to hell.
Hell, I'm sending you straight to hell.
I
Tag
have
yourself?
some connections, you see.
Tag yourself, which one of these fellas are you? Specifically the fellows.
The fellers.
Tag yourself, which fella do you kin?
The just the head shape on the like one just to her left is really funny.
With the hair, the puffed up
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That or
I'm
Mr.
quite-
Worldwide there.
Mr. Worldwide.
Can I be the bald one?
You want to be
Actually,
Mr.
no,
Worldwide?
You want to be Mr. Worldwide on the left?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
quite fond of guy with hat.
Guy with hat.
Guy with hat is pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The smirking smirker, the grinning grinner is also very good.
That's very
It's
you
true.
core.
It is.
You coded. It's like
it's very
that's your
Yeah.
smirking cat emoji.
yeah. Whenever I send a smirking
Yes.
cat emoji, it is Zora. All right. So long, friends. Boys, erase away.
Boys.
Boys, fucking kill
No!
him. Boys, literally kill this man.
Kill this man.
Just him. Can you leave me alone? I've actually done nothing wrong.
Mods.
Mods, ban
Please.
him. Mods, crush his skull.
Hold
Oh.
it, white whale!
Oh my god.
Gumshoe!
I hold everything, pal!
Oh my god.
D. Vasquez! You're coming down to the precinct with me right now!
Fuck. Not bad. Very well. It appears this contest will be decided tomorrow then, in court. I'll be looking forward to it. I'll be looking forward to literally shooting you in court. No.
Hey, you okay, pal? Sorry, I was a little late with my entrance.
Yeah.
I don't get many chances to practice that sort of thing.
He was so awesome here, but then we just ruined it with the Uwu voice. It's so awesome. This is
It's
peak
awesome.
gameplay.
Detective Gumshoe. Thank you.
Gumshoe! I hold everything, pal. We're so dead.
We're dead.
So dead.
We're dead.
So dead.
We're so cooked. Yeah.
I was really scared.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Don't mention it, pal. Just doing my job.
Just doing my job.
My job.
Doing my job.
Jowd.
Yeah, I'm dating
Jowd
this guy
Ghost
named
Trick?
Jowd.
Oh my
I
God.
met
Ghost
him the
Trick?
other day.
He doesn't happen to turn into an orb, does he?
How did you know?
Just a hunch.
I mean, how did you know?
Just doing my
Oh
job.
my God.
Yeah.
Don't do my job.
Detective Gumshoe? Sorry, it's just... I've wanted to say that line ever since I became a detective.
He's so goofus.
Okay. I got one more job to do today. I'm so we'll want to each other again soon. Well, Nick, it looks like we're getting close to the bottom of this.
And who's at the bottom? Phoenix? We know it's
It's you.
I wonder. I'm just saying we could still let her go. We could just frame Salmonella. I'm just saying it'd be fine. It'd be cool.
I support women's
She can
wrongs.
still have her moment, and we could still arrest Salmonella. Those two
Yeah.
things can coexist. I'm just saying.
D. Vasquez. Oh, she's not a bottom.
No.
No, she isn't.
No, your radar is wrong on that one.
Continued.
We continued.
It's only been an hour.
Continued.
Yeah, I mean we can take a break.
Quick
probably.
investigation.
Want to do a quick
Yeah,
break?
I want a quick break because I haven't eaten anything yet.
Oh,
Yes,
go eat,
let's
gamer.
Take a break. Let me save this.
I'm gonna get some ice
Yay.
cream.
Yay.
All right, everybody,
all.
we'll pause here.
Oh,
All
the
right.
pause.
Be right
The
back.
paused.
Back of the right.
Whoa.
Look, turn around. I
He's
was
been
simply-
torturing me.
I was saying nothing but the truth.
Yeah. We
Did you
got so much
guys-
knowledge.
Did you know that mangoes are a fruit?
Oh
That's
my
so crazy.
god.
Did you know they grow on trees?
Wow.
What?
They have
Wow.
huge seeds and are filled
What?
with vitamins.
Oh my
Mm.
god.
Sometimes you can use them as a weapon.
Oh my god.
Those
I
are
didn't
my
know
facts for the day.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Especially the part about it being a fruit.
Yeah.
I would have never known.
That's
Thank you
so
for your knowledge. Thank you for your wisdom,
crazy.
Miki.
Any day.
Oh god.
Oh
I
my god.
took so long because not only was I eating, I also made coffee. My 6 p.m. coffee.
6 p.m. coffee, hell yeah.
Yeah, my life is
yeah.
in shambles.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go.
Anyways,
October
let's
20th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 4.
Okay, so this
Mickey
is gonna
Mouse?
be a doozy. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse.
Oh my god.
It's not serious, Mick. Sorry.
Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Now that I also have coffee, I'm more awake.
Mm-hmm.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Today will be the final day of this trial. I hope both the prosecution and the defense will be able to present decisive evidence.
God, the music's so good all the time.
Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. Your opening statement.
Me going to the club and they play Ace Attorney music.
Yeah, throwing it back.
Yeah, yeah. In yesterday's session, the defense presented us with a new theory for this case. He claims that the scene of the crime was, in fact, Studio 2. Today, I will call on people present in the Studio 2 trailer that day.
Okay.
From their testimonies, the truth will become clear.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm moving my
Alright.
mic back a little bit.
At work.
Don't consume it.
Microphone. Don't eat it.
He ate it.
He did it. It's gone.
He eats it.
Sorry, I'm just like
It's
sitting
gone.
back, so I needed to move my mic closer this way.
You're sitting
No,
back.
that's fair.
You're leaned.
I'm relaxing, chillaxing.
Chillaxing. Chillmaxing.
Very well.
Edgeworth seems a bit on edge today.
I'm always on
Wow.
edge. That's why they called me Edgeworth.
That's so
He's
crazy.
He's always edging.
He's always.
I'm always edging.
Yep.
It's
No.
to build up an immunity.
Yeah, No Nut November
Like
is all year
poison.
for him.
Huh?
No Nut November is all year for him.
No
Yeah.
nut.
He never
near.
nuts.
He
No,
never
He
nuts.
gets. I think he gets to nut like once a year, on his birthday.
On his birthday!
Or no, he gets to
Damn.
choose a holiday.
Oh god. This is
Christmas.
cursed. This is bad. I miss Miki facts.
Did you know
I
that
missed what we were
chickens
saying.
can fly minimally?
Yeah, oh my god!
They
I
can
didn't know
go
that!
And they lay eggs.
Whoa! Ugh,
You may now call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth.
yay. I mean, the prosecution calls Miss D. Vasquez to the stand. Yay!
Yay.
Yay!
Miss D. Vasquez is a producer who was present at the Studio 2 trailer that day. She sure was.
Or what?
Oh, this is the Aya day, I see.
Yep.
Will the witness to state her name and occupation? No.
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 D. Vasquez. I'm a producer for Global Studios. On the day of the murder, you were in the trailer in Studio 2. As everyone here knows, yes? Question mark emoji? I dislike needless banter. If you must pontificate, do it when I'm not here.
Very well, Miss Vasquez.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck. Please
She's
give the
wrong.
court your testimony concerning the day of the murder.
He just got epically owned.
Nick, I know she did it. Make her pay.
Right. That'll be $7.99.
Not like that. At least ask for more money. She's like uber rich.
I mean, okay. If she's guilty, I'll
At
catch
least
her.
$9.
Oh, if she's guilty, I'll catch her with her pants down. Phoenix.
So to speak.
She's wearing a dress, no?
I mean,
Yeah.
technically no pants, so
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, they're already down.
mission accomplished.
You did it, Phoenix.
You did it.
Connor.
Good job, Phoenix.
Phoenix, you did
You
it.
did it.
Yay.
I entered the trailer, a little before noon. The meeting began at 2 o'clock sharp and ended at 4. There was to be a rehearsal afterwards, so we went to Studio 1. I was fatigued, so I had Sal take me. At 2:30, we took a 15-minute break in the meeting. Sal and I ate T-bone steaks on the table in front of the trailer. We found Hammer's body later when we all went to Studio 1. That's all.
Hmm.
I have a question about one part of your testimony. You were fatigued, so you had Sal take you?
Phrasing. The van.
Oh. Hmm?
We fucked in the van.
There's a van at Studio 2. I had him take me in that. Ugh. I thought it might be risky to walk, but with that monkey's head toppling over. A van!
That's a van.
Added to the court record.
I see.
Yeah.
Very well. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination.
Oh boy.
This is the final battle, Nick. Let's do it.
Kill her.
Kill
Kill.
her! But not actually. But if you accidentally kill Salmonella, I'd be down for that. I don't even see him in here today, but like, you know.
Hmm.
Okay, sorry, I was moving something.
The day of the murder.
Okay. Oop. By yourself?
By yourself? Ugh. Yes.
And you didn't stop in the employee area?
Why would I ever go there? I hate those people. No.
Are you always this terse?
Yes.
Oh dear. 12 sharp at 4. 2, 1, keys.
The man.
Hold on. You had Cell take you? What does that mean? We already did that.
We already talked about this, Phoenix. It means what I just said. I had Sal take me in the Studio 2 van. Phoenix, did you forget?
Oh, alright.
Where we eated the
Table
steak
trailer.
in
Oh.
15 minutes?
Oh yeah.
My
Well,
god.
Nick, find anything?
I kinda wish she'd said a little more.
It's hard. I think she's used to being the boss. But I'm sure you'll find some kind of contradiction in what she said somewhere.
Somewhere.
Love when women are used to being the boss. I am normal about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She entered the trailer.
Trailer?
Entering the trailer. Vasquez is such a genderful character in the same, like, in that very, like, do I want to be her or do I want to be with her?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so valid.
She's like, she's within that genre. She's so
No, I get
playful.
it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Noon.
The mix.
Sharp.
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 Charcuterie board.
Mmm. Hold it.
And when exactly was that?
I've forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Maybe you could try remembering?
No.
No.
The meeting ended at 4 o'clock and the rehearsal was scheduled for 5 o'clock. I would think it was between those times.
You would think? Come on, all you did was state the obvious, Edworth. Okay. Okay. 2:30. And what were you doing during that time?
Don't hit your desk. It irritates me. Yeah, yeah, Mr. Wright. You too, motherfucker. Oops. He's so used. These men around me are stupid. It was a
real.
15-minute break.
Oh, okay.
That's it. That's all I have to say. I'm not giving you shit.
Do you have someone who can verify this?
Sal.
No, I mean someone
Sal
else.
can do it. Someone else. One person is enough.
If she committed murder during that break, she wouldn't have had time to eat a T-bone steak. I had some evidence that proved she didn't eat that steak.
Well, Nick, find anything?
Yeah, I
This
guess
is
you gotta talk about
thing.
lunch.
I think I asked her about everything. I asked this.
Did you
Yeah.
not talk to her about lunch?
Did this. I did this one.
Mm-hmm.
I did this one.
Mm-hmm.
Did this one.
Mm-hmm.
I
Did you
don't
do
know.
this one?
I did do
You should
this
do this
one.
one.
This is the one I just
Oh.
asked about.
Okay.
Or something?
Oh.
Employee area.
No. Bam, bam, bam.
2 p.m. Oh boy. Okay.
Did you press around this? I forgot.
Yeah, I did. That's the one I just did.
Okay. Maybe I wasn't paying
Did you-
attention. Shit.
That was the one where I was like, "Can someone confirm that?" And she was like, "It's just
Oh.
Sal." On this one. I did this one, and she was like, the break was 15 minutes."
Huh.
That's the van one.
Can you present anything to her?
I don't know if any of this is gonna be.
Is there more on this either side?
The only other thing is these two.
Oh, okay. Might be.
Plate.
Huh.
Wasn't she talking about eating before? I don't know.
Well, this is the one from.
This is the
This is
specifically
from
it's,
the employee area.
this is
Okay.
specifically Will Powers' plate they're talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think any of this is gonna be it.
Oh wait, look at Monkey Head again. I forgot. I just want to remember the time.
2:15 and 4.
Yeah. Doesn't matter because she could have taken the bay in.
Yeah. It'd take me 2:30. The 15-minute break was at 2:30. Which is when the murder happened. So did she get over there in less than a minute and murder him?
You could present this if you felt so inclined.
No, that's just gonna get me fucked up. 2 p.m. Mind map, murder weapon. 2:15. Go back. Hold on. Go back. There's to be a rehearsal afterwards, which is at like 4/5. So this would be gone by then. To
Hmm.
12 and a 4? Did I do this one already? No. Did no one leave during the meeting?
Oh. No one.
Come on, let's talk a bit more about that.
The witness did not come here to engage in idle conversation. Stop interrupting the testimony. The same could be said to you, Mr. Edgeworth. And please stop banging on your little desk. It hurts my ears.
I did that one. I did that one. I did a 4 to be rehearsal afterwards. I went to studio 1. Oh. See, that'll take me. Can I mean, do I show her the van? To studio 1 after the meeting in the trailer. Oh my god, okay. Check his fingerprints. Nice photo of your victory scene. 4 p.m. it would have been gone by then. This is nothing. Okay. 2:30 took a 15-minute day. She's like, it's 15 minutes. That's... No, I don't got anything, Maya.
Arg.
I have to go one at a time again. Okay.
The thinker.
Yeah, by yourself, I already did this one. Didn't stop the employee area. Curse, and then...
The terser.
12 sharp, I did a 4. No one leave. He yaps.
They yap and they slam table.
To be a rehearsal, and then I ask her what time in that. Yep. Forgotten the time. Doesn't want to remember. 4 to 5. Tell, and then you takes you. Hold on. Yes, I'll take you. Blah blah blah. Oh right. 2:30 took a 15-minute break. So what are you doing at that time? She talks about not hitting the desk. And then she's like, 15 minutes. A T-bone steaks on the table in front of the trailer. You have someone who can verify, and then she's like, it's just Sal or whatever. One person.
The gaming gamer.
I had some evidence that proves she didn't eat that steak. Okay, well, Phoenix, I don't think I got that. Okay.
Isn't there a steak plate?
Yeah, but that's not hers. That's
Well, you could still
Hmm.
try.
Hammer's. If it's that one, I'm literally gonna be so upset. Because they made this so clear that it's Hammer's.
Let me think. Oh.
Chat, what if I fucking killed myself?
No,
Please
I think that's just
don't.
Ace Attorney being confusing.
Ha! As I thought. You claim you ate a T-bone steak. But I say you did not.
Okay. Question mark emoji.
What's this now, Mr. Wright?
There's the judge fell asleep.
I did.
Look at this. Look at this photograph.
A plate.
I guess the point was that there's two bones, which I thought was probably it, but then they kept talking about how it was about the sleeping things. But I guess it's just the idea that there are two, just in general, the T-bone steak
That's
debacle
so
is what is
stupid.
encompassed
But
in
then-
this.
That's
Wait,
so
Which is
stupid.
What are we proving again? That she didn't eat a steak?
She did
Yeah.
not eat a steak. I think it's showing that because it's like one bone for one T-bone steak.
Or it's for someone else's
Yeah,
plate? I
but,
don't know.
like,
Yeah,
again,
which is
this
what
is
I
not
said.
hers. This is the plate
What?
from the employee area. It literally says
Yeah,
on
which
it.
is just Ace Attorney being foolish
Oh,
sometimes.
my god.
being unclear
I'm gonna
mildly.
fucking kill myself.
I guess they're trying to like do not say such things. But like I guess
gonna.
the logic is that it's like generally the T-bone steak eating in general, which is stupid because I guess
stupid.
like Will Powers has sleeping pills.
Oh,
Anyways.
sorry. I bumped it. This one was on the table in the employee area.
Mhm.
As you can see, a large bone has been left behind.
Cool. Oh. Oh, they're trying to say like because the plates in the other studio doesn't have a bone on it.
Uh-huh.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Okay. I remember now. Mr. Wright, need I remind you it was a T-bone steak? With the bone.
Exactly my point.
It's full nodding animation.
Remember, if you will. Miss Vasquez and Mr. Manila ate at a table outside the trailer.
Oh, okay. It's all becoming clear again.
Yet there were no bones left on the plates. The plates were bare!
Naked!
Oh my god.
Okay. Grr.
Miss Vasquez.
Squid's losing his marbles.
Tell me, how can a person eat a T-bone steak and not
The
leave the
bone.
bone?
Yeah, we fed it to salmonella.
I think I know.
You ate the bone too.
You didn't eat a steak. You didn't eat the steak, bitch.
You ate the bone too.
You
You
didn't eat
monster.
any steak during that break. You took your steak and threw it somewhere, like that incinerator.
That's what I'm saying. I see. Then what was Miss Vasquez doing during her break?
Committing a murder.
Is it obvious,
No.
Your Honor? Meeting the Steel Samurai. Oh my gosh.
Maybe that's a samurai. Maybe you need coffee.
With the Steel Samurai.
Sharing my coffee with you in my mind.
Thank you. She was
Sorry, I'm sending caffeine directly into your brain.
It was meeting with the Steel Samurai.
Yeah.
Order. Are you saying?
What the fuck?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
As Miss Vasquez left the
Oh,
trailer
so
to
you're
eat her
approaching me.
steak. You're approaching.
For real?
She ran into the Steel Samurai.
She looks so imposing.
And then you did it.
You killed him.
You killed him with your own hands.
How? God, her, she's so slayful.
Mr. Wright!
What the fuck?
Hold on. Okay.
Why are you accusing the sexy woman of murder?
Isn't that a little presumptuous?
What kind of stunt are you trying to pull, Wright? Let him claim what he wants. You say I did it.
Yes.
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 Fascinating. And here I was worrying that today would be as boring as all the rest. Very well. Let us have a battle of wits, you and I. Uh-huh.
Any day, Vasquez.
Good
Love
luck, Nick.
his very in so many frames nodding animation. It's so good.
I'm rolling away to get another jelly.
Consume jelly.
The snacker.
ASMR
is
jelly
good.
eating.
Oh.
Let's see.
So do this with press ons. Okay.
Oh, what was that murder weapon again? Oh yes, the samurai spear.
Yes.
I am, as you can see, a woman of petite stature. Oh my god. I know how to speak. How could I possibly use that heavy spear as a weapon?
I think you could.
Consider it.
Well, she has her boys.
She has her boys.
Her
She didn't have
boys
her
who-
boys that day.
No boys that day?
I don't think. Probably, unless the boys were also in the meeting.
What if he fell onto it?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fencing.
Yeah.
It's symbolic.
Whoa.
Wogue.
That would be interesting. And that means she wouldn't have to lift it, because even if it's heavy.
Yeah, you couldn't, could you?
Just lie it down. Have the guy fall on it.
I think you would have a great deal of difficulty using that as a weapon. Pretty much anyone would.
You see?
Yeah.
Ha. Yes, full of gummies.
I know that has no bearing on the taste.
Are you eating gummies in the
It's jelly.
jelly?
It's lychee jelly.
Lychee's good.
Jelly?
Actual lychee.
Sorry, my fucking my brain, that my bilingual brain gets so confused with jelly versus gummy, because in Japanese, like, oh no, there's also jelly but different.
Yeah, it's one of those little jelly
so
cups that you like.
Oh.
I got it from the Asian market. No.
Yeah. Jelly.
I'm gonna eat another
Meaning?
one. I'm just bringing the bag to the table. Okay.
Fair enough.
The samurai spear was not the murder weapon.
What?
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 What is the meaning of this? The spear was found lying next to the victim's body.
I have
The
proof, Your
defendant
Honor.
is defense is eating gummies. Hold on.
Sorry. I'm
Or
eating a
jelly.
jelly cup.
Jelly cup.
I can prove that the
it.
samurai spear was not used as the murder weapon.
And look at this photograph.
Of this one.
You went too fast.
That's
You went too
great.
fast. That fence is primed for the stabbing.
Wrong, Mr. Wright.
But I haven't said anything yet.
I can tell from your vibes you are wrong. I know you well enough by now to know when you're going to present the wrong evidence.
Well, you what the what?
Is it?
I can sense.
Oh, maybe
you
it's this.
with my
Maybe it's something
fable.
else. Damn.
What the heck?
Okay.
Okay. So I picked the wrong evidence. Enough with all the sensing.
Damn.
Right. Okay. Here's the real evidence, Your Honor. I can prove that the samurai spear was not used as a murder weapon.
Well, because it was duct taped.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
So
he was also duct taped, so it would be broken
The van.
anyway.
She ran him over.
show the weapon.
He
If
was,
it's
there's a
duct
puncture
tape.
wound.
Oh yeah. Well, it could
We
still
already
be the
showed that.
fence. So
No, it's not. It's
Mm.
it like not right now. It's not the evidence right now. Is not that. Do you think it's the? It might just be the duct taped spear because it's
could just
flimsy
be the
as fuck.
spear.
It's duct taped
Oh,
to it.
I know what we're talking. My brain was thinking something completely different.
That's why I thought at first
Yeah.
it was the fencing
Yeah.
because it was like
It can't have
bolted.
been used as a murder weapon. It was duct taped.
I
Oh,
resent
yeah.
my proof.
Together.
The so-called murder weapon.
It would like fly right off.
Yeah.
But that is the murder weapon.
Where's the blood?
Edgeworth, you silly,
It's
silly
clean.
It's clean.
fool. Not so fast, you bitch. Remember that this spear broke during the morning action scene run-through? But someone fixed the spear. It was the security lady.
And
She
duct taped
fixed it with duct tape. Now tell me, how is it possible? For someone to stab a man who was wearing a thick costume with this through the chest? I point at you.
I point.
Order! Order!
Mr. Wright, what are you driving at?
Point right back at you.
I'll kill you. Think about what you're... Silence. I'm the one testifying here and I will be heard. Good.
Got him.
Are you quite sane?
Are you even aware of what? Oh,
Oh,
no,
that's
you?
me.
My
Sorry.
bad.
Are you even aware of what you're saying? If the samurai spear was not the murder weapon, then pray tell what was. How was Hammer killed?
Well, Mr. Wright, can you tell us what weapon was used to kill Mr. Hammer?
And now we can.
I can tell you.
The judge was like,
Was it
I can sense with my
defense?
psychic skills that you're gonna use this evidence later, but not right now. Hold on.
Would I make
That's
a
why I
claim like
didn't
that?
penalize you.
Would I make a claim like that if I couldn't tell you what the weapon was?
His funny little smug face.
I'm afraid your confidence can be sometimes unfounded, Mr. Wright. Very well, let's see what this murder weapon is
Now
then.
you shall see my image. Take that.
Look at
I'm
this photograph.
Oh, that's so.
You're eating jelly.
I'm sorry.
Ugh.
Look at this photo.
Airing out his dirt, just like in court.
What's this?
What the fuck?
Why, that's Jack Hammer standing on top of the stairs.
Killing a man.
Order, order. If I cannot have order, this trial will be suspended. Mr. Wright, what is this all about?
Justice. This photograph is from 5 years ago. There was an unfortunate accident at Global Studios.
I heard that slur.
No, you didn't.
I heard you. I know what you did.
I know what you did.
We know what you did.
This is a
I
photo
know
of that
you
very
did.
accident.
That was
I
you in
hear
that
you
photo.
opening one.
No, no.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Nor.
I heard it.
No.
I know what you did.
I know
Not doing
all your
anything.
sins. I'll see it in the past and the future.
Whoa.
I can see everything.
Not a word of this was leaked
Oh.
to the outside. It was a close-kept secret at the studios. Sorry, I'm nibbling on my
What does
last
this
one. I
have-
just got hungry.
Good. What does this have to do with the current case?
Mr. Edgeworth, you stupid
Mr.
fool.
Uh,
You still can't see it?
no.
See the fallen man in the photo? See how the fence post pierced him through the chest?
What? Are you saying?
Yes.
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 Ish.
What happened 5 years ago? This
She
is
looks
sick.
so cool.
Yeah.
She looks
hell
so
yeah.
cool in that
Has
picture.
happened again.
Ah! Oh, surprised.
Mr. Wright, continue!
It's 2:30 p.m. on the day of the murder. Miss D. Vasquez meets Jack Hammer outside the Studio 2 trailer. Then she did it. She pushed Mr. Hammer off the stairs onto the fence. Just like Mr. Hammer had himself done 5 years ago. The weather. Oh, well, something accident.
So whether she did it on purpose or by accident, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Scream delay.
In other words, the victim, Mr. Hammer. He died in the same way he caused another man to die.
She hit the gritty
Damn.
on her.
He hit the gritty and he died. He fell right on that fence post. Perished instantly.
Instantaneously.
5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, Drew.
No,
Yes.
precisely. Ironic, isn't it?
It's poetic. Very creative, Mr. Wright. I could use a man like you on my script writing stuff.
You deny that what I say is true?
Mr. Wright. Let's say, for the sake of your argument, that Hammer died at this trailer as you say. Yet the body was found at Studio 1, was it not? And in the evil magistrate's costume, no less. Are you then claiming that I carried the body to Studio 1 and returned to the trailer, and all in the space of a 15-minute break? How could I have disposed of the body?
Oh, I know exactly how, you bitch.
The break in the meeting at the trailer lasted 15 minutes, from 2:30 to 2:45. Could Jack Hammer have been pushed off the stairs to his death, then carried to Studio 1 and placed inside his costume? There wasn't enough time.
Indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, how could she have dealt with the body? probably had
She
other
had another
people.
way.
I bet she could move it. She had another way? Oh, shrugging emoji.
What if she had another way to carry the body, other than with her own hands?
Somebody else's hands.
For instance?
Actually, for that matter, there was no need for her to do the deed in 15 minutes. And there was a way for you to carry that body.
Garg. Interesting. Let's hear it then.
Mr. Wright, please show us how she carried the body.
The van!
Oh, the van?
The van.
Take that. Miss Vasquez. You carried the body to Studio 1. And you used the studio van to do it.
Oh my god! Surprised.
Exclamation mark.
Shocked.
Recall your testimony.
There was to be a rehearsal afterwards, so we went to Studio 1. I was fatigued, so I had Sal take me. There was a van there, right? I had Sal drive me.
You used the van to carry the body to Studio 1. Then before everyone else got there, you put the body into the magistrate costume.
You stripped him down. Hold on, right. Don't forget, it was Sal Manella that drove that van. Are you suggesting that Mr. Manella was a conspirator?
No, I feel like he just does whatever she says. But I don't know if that makes him a conspirator.
Shrugging emoji.
You can be a conspirator without knowing you're a conspirator, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah, but he wasn't, like, planning the murder with her.
Yeah, but like, you can be an accomplice without knowing.
Oh, I guess it's the idea that like
I
she
guess.
secretly stuffed him into the van
And then was like,
Manila drove
take the
him.
van. Yeah.
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 Of course he
I'm
wasn't.
tired. You
I'm
have to
gonna say he
drive the
wasn't.
van for me.
Of course he wasn't.
Huh. So, without Mr. Manila noticing anything, she put the body in the van. Then managed to put the body into the costume. Are you seriously suggesting that this is possible?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Of course I'm not
Maybe he
serious.
was. Huh? This
I was
fucking
kidding.
man.
To lighten up the proceedings. Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
Stick to your
This fight is
guns,
very
man.
cute, but what the fuck? Light. This is a murder trial. Lighten. You can't lighten up a murder. Mr. Wright.
Right.
Lock the fuck in.
The court requests you refrain from making claims in jest.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. Fun's illegal in this courtroom, I guess. Of course,
This is a
Salmonella
murder
Man
trial.
is dead.
have been a
We
conspirator.
traumatized the trial yesterday.
It was funny to see Miles be like, huh? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The body had to be placed in the van and put into the costume. There's no way Miss Vasquez could have done that alone.
I'm just a petite woman.
And also, don't forget they had to dispose of the Steel Samurai costume.
Mm.
They had to, because it was covered in Mr. Hammer's blood.
Oh my god.
They probably
Blood.
burned it in that small incinerator.
It's good to drink in the morning.
What?
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 Huh? Drink what?
Blood.
Oh,
Blood.
blood.
Yum.
Oranges. Blood orange juice.
Okay.
Yum.
Yum.
Well, Miss Vasquez,
Orange scooch. This.
shall I continue? For Squid's case, it's an unwitting prawn. Oh, the term would be an unwitting accomplice / pawn. Oh, unwitting prawn.
More like a prawn.
this.
She's stressed. No need. You're smarter than you look, Mr. Wright. I lose, you win. It was fun.
Win?
You win!
Uh, so what happens next? Don't me. Don't you have anything to say?
What would you like me to say?
Huh? I lost? Something like that.
I already did. I just said that.
Wait, so you mean D. Vasquez? So it was you? You killed Jack Hammer.
Who can say?
Oh. Huh?
Oh. Are you sure I did? Mr. Wright. We just engaged in a battle of wits. And the result of that battle, you proved the possibility that I murdered Hammer.
Right.
But that is only a possibility. Proof is another thing altogether. You lack decisive proof, Mr. Wright.
What?
Order!
What the fuck?
Mr. Edgeworth, your thoughts?
Of course, it's as the witness says. certainly. It does seem very likely she did it, but there's no proof.
Edgeworth isn't sure. He's always sure.
He's considering things.
He's thinking hard about something.
I'm hard about something.
Oh.
I didn't need to know that one.
Well, I came here as a witness today. If you have no more questions, I'll be leaving.
What do I do now? Testify again.
Yeah.
I'd like you to testify again.
One more again.
Testify
One more game.
again?
No one to give up, Mr. Wright. Think about it. Even if I were to testify again, what's the point? I can only say what I said before, the truth, Mr. Wright. I've already said all there is to say. What would happen if I said it again? You'd ask the same questions, get the same answers. A waste of time.
Damn.
Slap.
Damn. Come so
Fuck.
far only to fail.
As it seems there are no further questions, I would like to end the cross-examination of the witness, Miss Vasquez.
Oh.
Yes, Mr. Edgeworth?
I was hoping to come up with a question while I was objecting, Your Honor.
Bro.
I didn't.
Oh, Edgeworth.
Bro. Edgeworth. See, very well.
Your Honor, I request that the witness testify again.
Edgeworth?
You're the prosecutor, you're not?
Yeah, but I think he's getting a sense of justice here.
Uh-huh.
Edgeworth is so cute. Why are you badgering me? I'm your witness.
I think... Oh, I know why.
Why?
Maybe it'll show up later.
I just want to hear your testimony again.
Because there's like something from the anime I remember.
The anime?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Does this make any sense to you, Your Honor?
And I wonder if it comes from the game.
I don't see why we have anything to gain by repeating the last several minutes. Dun, 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 dun.
Mr. Edgeworth, I too see little point in making Miss Vasquez repeat herself.
I know it came afterwards. I'm just saying, I remember something from the anime and I wonder if
Forget it. We're here now.
if it comes from the game.
I'm erasing your memory right now.
No, it's not about the trial. It's not about the trial. It's about something else.
Yeah, I just in general. Well, I think what day was this? I think what was it? October 20th courtroom.
October 20th, yeah.
Yeah, today's the day. It's fun. All right, let's go.
Oh, is it that one? Never mind.
It's a day to celebrate. Anyways.
I think I know what it is then. What exactly did you want her to testify about?
Maybe I don't know what you're talking about. I think I'm talking about something else.
I feel like I cultural osmosis this game, and there's not many things to... Well,
anyways.
what exactly did you want her to testify about?
Oh, and I think I know what you're talking about. I'm talking about something completely different.
You're talking about something else. I also know other things, but I'm not sure what... I haven't watched the anime. I've only seen and played the games, so I have no clue. Anyways.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Well, yes, my baby girl.
There's 7 things. I know what you're talking about.
Indeed.
We're all talking about completely different things.
Completely different things, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are pretty good. Indeed. Verily, I say. Ergo. I want to hear about what happened after they found the body.
This is a skit, I
squid.
tell you.
No, squid. It's a squid.
A
A
squid.
squid's a squid. Squid.
A squid bits. It's a squid.
Bits.
Squids.
After they found the body? Very well. The witness will testify in the court concerning this matter. Nick? Why did Edgeworth...
Edgeworth was helping.
Who knows? You probably realized she did it too.
But...
It's Edgeworth.
Wasn't he the one that said he always gets a guilty verdict?
Yeah, but we
I'll
did
do
kind of beat
anything
him
to get
a
the
few
guilty
times.
verdict.
Anything.
Well...
Anything.
Anything.
Cursed.
After
The
all
wretched.
that...
Wretched.
Wretched.
What the heck? Edgeworth.
I can read your mind. Never think like that again.
Edgeworth.
I was with Sal and Oldback, the security lady, when we found the body. The assistant was there too, only Powers was absent. I immediately called the police, then Powers showed up. The security lady, Oldbag, was quite agitated, pointing at Powers saying he did it. I asked to be left out of the proceedings. I went back to the trailer to get my script and direction notes. Then I went home.
I see no issue raised by this testimony. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination.
Aye, Captain.
Okay, Nick, we're close. Real close. She may be acting tough now. But if you put her on the spot, she's sure to falter. Find the key you need and twist the truth out of her, Nick.
I'll do that, yeah.
Okay.
Right. Sorry. I
What?
had a jelly burp. So I was
Oh,
like struggling.
the
Jelly.
jelly.
Salad
That was
bag.
Sal. Oh, I already read that. Yeah.
Security lady found the body. Susan was there too, only Powers was absent. Nearly called the police, then Powers showed up. Security lady Oldberg was quite agitated, pointing at Powers saying he did it. As we left out of the proceedings, went back to the trailer to get my script and direction notes. Then I went home.
Script. My script. 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 Script.
And we've used these. I don't think really there's going to be anything else. The script and your direction notes? Oh. My
You
bad.
can save.
Would you pause?
Yeah.
You can save. Yes, they're quite valuable. I wouldn't. It wouldn't do to have them stolen. Didn't
Press-
she? She didn't have her script.
Press harder.
Remember last time she forced you to fetch it?
Yeah. Wait a second.
Wait a damn moment.
I thought you came to Studio One for a rehearsal. Why didn't you bring your script and notes?
Well, I was under the impression that we wouldn't be able to rehearse anything.
Why?
Because they'd be dead. There was a murder after all.
That doesn't make any sense. When you were on the way there, you didn't know there was a murder.
Who could think of rehearsing after that?
Oh yeah, I guess. No, Phoenix, you don't guess. That didn't make any sense.
Very well, Miss Vasquez. Please continue.
When was the last time I saved? When it last... Oh,
Your Honor,
3 exclamation marks.
I have an objection to the witness's last statement.
thank you, Edward. Huh?
Edward's smart, despite acting dumb sometimes. Think.
He's pointing.
Think.
He's like, think,
Think,
you
Phoenix,
stupid
think.
motherfucker. Yeah.
Think, Phoenix, think.
Mm,
Miss Vasquez said she didn't bring the script because there wouldn't be a rehearsal. A wouldn't be a rehearsal. Don't you see what that means? She would have had to know about the murder before going to Studio One.
Thank you, Edward. Thank you.
Think, Phoenix, think.
Uh.
Oh, so shocked.
shocked and appalled.
Surprised.
Order, order. Mr. Edgeworth,
Yeah.
what have you just said? What?
What you have just said.
Oh, is a reasonable observation. However, I find it hard to understand why the prosecution would make such a move. Or are you thinking of a career change to defense?
Don't worry about it, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the concern, Your Honor. I will stand by my statement, however, regardless of how the court sees my role here. Now, Miss Vasquez, do you have an explanation?
Edward's handsome.
Handsome.
He's handsome. I can't believe Edward is helping me.
So the prosecution is in cahoots with the defense. What kind of court is this? No matter. I think you misunderstood me. I had a perfectly good reason to believe there would be no rehearsal.
Very well. The witness will change your testimony to reflect this reason.
I can just let her get away with this.
I knew that Hammer was injured and couldn't do any action scenes, so I left them behind. Oh?
How did you know about the injury?
Hammer was injured? How did I know? Sal. He told me.
Sal, the director.
You have to find something to peg this on her here. Or
The
everything
picture?
we've done till now will have been wasted.
Hmm?
I believe in you, Nick. Go get him.
With Sal and Olbag. Okay, go all the way back.
Keep going.
Let me...
Gesundheit.
Sorry, I just
Keep
sneezed.
going. Hammer was injured, is he? Are you sure about that?
Powers this photo.
Because the one who got injured. Hold on. Maybe. Well, check the Samurai Street description. Just look at it.
Murder weapon and
Never mind.
breakable jaw.
Never mind. No. Go with the.
It's this, probably.
I think. Yeah.
Have we even used this photo?
I think a
I
little
don't
bit.
think so. No, we did not.
Go on.
So, like, it kind of
Objection!
crosses elimination.
You knew that Hammer was injured? Don't you think that's a little funny?
I'm
I
laughing.
mean, it was the Steel Samurai who was injured. It was Will Powers.
What? She doesn't know because she wasn't there.
Mr. Wright, explain yourself.
Yes, Mr. Hammer is dragging his leg in this photo. But that's because he was pretending to be Mr. Powers.
Pretending.
One person was injured in the run-through that morning. That person was Mr. Powers, not Mr. Hammer. Now, why did you think it was Mr. Hammer who was injured?
Surprised. I already said it was Sal who told me. That's right. He must have gotten it wrong.
I think not.
Mr.
Mr. Manel was at the run-through that morning. He would have known it was Mr. Powers who was injured. He saw it happen. Why would he tell you the wrong person? Miss Vasquez, you saw Hammer limping.
You saw him.
Actually, you didn't hear anything from Mr. Manila. You saw Mr. Hammer limping with your own eyes.
Yes, but wasn't it Mr. Powers who was injured?
Yes, but remember, Mr. Hammer was dragging his leg too. He was pretending to be Mr. Powers.
I love the woodblock noise.
Ah.
Ah!
And when was he doing this?
Well, it would have to have been after he put on the Steel Samurai costume. And went to Studio 2, where he was murdered.
Exactly. Thank you, Edward. Miss Vasquez, you met him, didn't you? You saw the Steel Samurai limping.
Oh,
And Mr. Hammer was in that Steel Samurai suit.
I'm so shocked, but it looks so cool.
That's why you were confused. That's why you thought it was Mr. Hammer who had been injured that morning.
Oh, surprised.
Order, order. I will have order.
Witness. Can you refute this claim?
Yeah, let's see you sneak out of this one, Vasquez. It's actually a legal stance for Edward to make. Ethical obligations. If they find a fundamental flaw, they can disclose it or understand it's a failed case. Step down altogether. Hi, Vesta. Welcome in.
Objection.
Hello.
Welcome. Very well. I have a question for you.
Why are the real killers always so persistent?
Why in the world would I want Mr. Hammer dead?
You didn't.
Yes, he'd fallen on hard times, but he was a star.
We're doing good. How are you, Vesta?
I have nothing to gain from his death. Nothing.
Yes, you would need a motive.
The thinker.
Why would she have killed the victim? If there was a reason, it is unclear to this court. Does the defense have anything to say on this matter? In other words, can you prove she had a motive?
I'm trying to think of any of the evidences we have.
Is there any evidence we haven't used? Because that would just be process of elimination at that point. But...
We haven't we did use this one. We used this and
Monkey.
this. Did we use this? We
I
did.
feel like we
Yeah.
did.
Her motive was because Mr. Monkey's head
Monkey.
fell off.
I know, I just...
That doesn't make any sense.
I saw Mr. Monkey's head on the floor and I had to kill him.
I had to do it.
Hey, wait, Squid, go back to Will Powers. He's younger than you.
My neck has been pulled from my shoulders. Let's see if it's net positive.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, he's
wait.
younger than you, Squid.
Thanks for the resub, Fiery. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Thank you.
congratulations.
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 got a mackerel.
Oh,
You caught a
same age.
mackerel.
Same age.
Yeah. You're
Imagine
gonna be
being
the
the
same age
same
when we go to like
age.
the time, like the slight like time skip where it's like they're like 25. And by time skip, I mean just it's just progressing.
Imagine being 25.
Yeah, imagine.
Soon, you will be.
Soon.
Not me.
Squid,
I
was your
don't know.
birthday before or after mine? I forget.
I'm April
Because we're
5th.
both April baby. Oh yeah,
Fifth?
you're first.
Yeah.
For some reason, I keep hallucinating your birthday is 25th, even though it's I just remember the 5. and I
My
don't
birthday's
remember
on
the
the
first one.
25th.
Yeah,
but not
mine
in
is
Your birthday.
April.
Oh, that's I've just been merging your birthdays in my mind on accident.
That might be it.
Oopsie. But yeah,
Aya, are
Squid,
you-
Squid first, then my
12? 12?
12th. Are you 12 years
Are
old?
you 12?
No.
No.
Are you 12?
I was
No,
just
no, no.
trying to figure out or remember what day.
Yeah.
Is it the
12th?
9th?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's the 12th. It is the 12th.
I don't know why I kept thinking it was the
April-
9th
That
for
was
you.
tucked somewhere back in the back of my brain. I'm usually so bad with
Yeah.
dates.
I'm pretty bad too.
I feel like April 12th is strangely easy to remember.
Yeah.
I don't know why I kept thinking 9. I don't know why.
The 9. Shrugging
Hmm.
emoji.
Shrugging emoji.
I'm not 12. I'm turning 12 minus 1 times 2.
22.
22.
I can do math in my head. That's at least above
Yeah.
1.
That's gotta be above 1.
It's gotta be above 1.
You're at least 1 years old.
I'm at least 1 years old. I'm very youthful. Updating
You
the
are, you're very
Miki, the
youthful.
wiki.
The Mickey Wiki.
The wiki is just called the Miki.
The
The
Mickey.
Mhm.
The
Was born on the
Wikipedia.
25th. When? Shrug emoji.
One of them.
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 You'll never know.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know. Can you prove she had a motive?
Can it,
I don't think you.
we already used this.
You can use evidence more than one time.
I know,
will
but
say.
like, also, what would this even prove?
I guess that she had blackmail on him or something.
That she's hot.
Shrugging emoji. She's really beautiful.
I can try. Of course, I can prove it.
You can think it.
Okay.
I
I have
I'll
proof,
let
and
you
I'll
cook.
show it to you. I present to you. I present to the court evidence as to Miss Vasquez's motive in this murder.
The Moida.
The Moida.
The Moida.
Okay.
It
The
may
Moida.
just be the look at this photograph. If you like, I don't know. It's up to you.
Hmm.
The steak.
Show your ace attorney
Nope,
badge.
it's not that.
Aw.
This is my proof. Yeah. I don't think so. This is the photo from before?
Wait,
That's.
that was Mickey.
Oh, sorry.
You stole the judge.
This photo reveals the motive in this murder.
There you go.
The
Now we
judge
can
and
swap.
Phoenix Wright have switched places. What?
My brain, I was like already like, this is not right. So my brain was like, just skip it, just skip it.
No. You gotta be patient. It doesn't always stop. Sometimes Phoenix has to yap a little first.
No, it always does the freaking
That's for like
music
different.
stop. So I was
It
like, this is
depends. It
bullshit.
depends on the tone. Give it a moment. She's
Eh.
like, huh? She's like sucking in all that smoke and not breathing out.
Oh, maybe. Hold on.
I'll just give it a moment. Fuck it, we ball.
I'm right, aren't I, Miss Vasquez?
He sounds much older than I remember.
I'm right. I'm right, aren't I, Miss Vasquez?
Hmm.
5 years ago, Mr. Hammer was at the height of his fame. With D. Vasquez's help, a terrible accident was swept under the carpet. Ladies and gentlemen, the case currently up for trial began on that day 5 years ago. Ironically enough, that accident precipitated Mr. Hammer's fall.
It rained.
His fall from stardom.
It stormed.
His guilt weighed on him. Weighed him down, no doubt.
However, you, D. Vasquez, used Mr. Hammer. You made him work for you for petty change.
bringing us to the present day and Mr. Hammer's last role as the evil magistrate.
Yes, undoubtedly, it was a constant source of shame for the X-Star.
That goes to tell you, Squid, not to skip things when there's music. Stop.
Okay, I'm
Doesn't
sorry.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
You got reading.
I'm
Good.
sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. You're sorgy.
I'm sorry.
You're sorgy.
You're soggy.
I'm sorry.
One moment, Mr. Wright. He's soggy. Sorry for stealing.
We are talking about motives here, yet you have only talked about Mr. Hammer. It almost seems as if it was Mr. Hammer who had killed Dee Vasquez, not the other way around.
Oi.
Oh, he's sorgy.
What motive Miss Vasquez have?
Yes, that's right. According to what you say, I would have had no reason to kill Hammer. He was a good source of income for me. And I never get rid of useful men. It's a policy of mine.
Oh, she's so
Okay,
slay.
work.
She's so awesome. I'm always saying this. I never get rid of useful men.
Right.
I want her continuing.
Please explain Miss Vasquez's motive of murder.
I don't
Think about
know.
Consider it. So, would you like me to yap you through it? Just like with what we have so far?
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning, okay? So like, all right. So Mr. Jack Hammer. Let's go through the events in chronological order.
Okay.
Mr. Jack Hammer, he in the morning they like do their rehearsal. Powers fucking sprains his stupid ankle. Right, and then they go to lunch, and then Jack Hammer drugs Powers' meal with sleeping pills.
Yeah.
And then Powers goes to bed, takes a little nappy nap. Jack Hammer takes the Steel Samurai costume, pretends to be Will Powers, and goes across to Studio 2, right? And then he goes and meets Dee Vasquez. Dee Vasquez pushes him, he dies. Dee Vasquez takes the body, moves it over to Studio 1, changes him into the evil magistrate's costume, etc., gets rid of the other evidence. Consider the fact. Consider, does Dee Vasquez have a motive for murder in this scenario?
Probably not.
Who is motivated in this scenario?
Yeah, I thought about this earlier, like last time. Like maybe he went after her.
So it was like a self-defense type thing.
But then, like, why? This is what.
Then maybe she doesn't have a motive. They can do whatever.
She had no motive, Your Honor.
Whoa!
Whoa!
What's that now?
You got really close to the microphone.
You got real close.
Am I? No, I'm like
Really
under
intense.
it.
No, you're fine. It was just
You're fine
for
now.
that segment. It was just strangely
I
loud.
literally haven't moved. I haven't moved
funny.
any
It's
closer.
really funny. I don't know why I did that. Anyways.
Okay, my bad. It was Mr.
Hurry up.
Hammer who was out for blood.
Touching my pearls.
All Miss Vasquez did was push him off the stairs in self-defense.
Yeah. What's that now? What the fuck? Slam.
It's simple. Mr. Hammer was intending to kill Miss Vasquez.
What? The Steel Samurai music is playing. What? Edgeworth is like, "Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?"
Your Honor. Jackhammer drugged Mr. Powers with sleeping pills.
Hmm.
Jackhammer snuck into the dressing room and stole the steel samurai costume.
While gazing at him for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason.
Mm.
Jackhammer wore the costume to fool the security lady into thinking he was Powers. Then Jackhammer made his way to the trailer.
Oh my god.
And for what purpose, you ask? To kill D. Vasquez, who had so cruelly taken advantage of him all those years.
Oh.
We can let her off the hook, right? That's what I'm
She
gathering
did
from
do an
this.
accidental murder.
It was
And then tried to cover
accidental.
it up. Which also,
But,
like... why
that's
wouldn't-
fair.
Why wouldn't you just be like, it was self-defense?
I don't know if they do that here.
Because do the people know that she's like part of the mob or whatever?
Yeah, that might also be part of it.
That might be part of it.
She's
that
too many
doesn't, like-
connect to be bad.
But that doesn't, like... I don't know. So you did do it, didn't you? I give up.
I think it might be slightly different in like that you can't. I don't know if you can claim like a self-defense. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Jackhammer owed me $10.
Jackhammer owed me $10. Yes. Oh, she's so kind looking now. I'm guilty.
Damn.
It was me.
Oh, press that button, please. There you go.
She's so beautiful. Someone call an ambulance. We're having a flashback.
I'm having a flashback
We're having
right
a
now,
flashback.
gamer.
She's having a flashback right now. There's blood everywhere. We're too late. Miss Vasquez.
Who is that?
What happened here? I'm
We'll
guessing.
call an
I think it's-
ambulance, but not for
That's probably
me.
salmonella.
I don't know. No, this is
don't know.
Don't worry about it. What? Manuel fell from the trailer stairs. This is the 5 years ago flashback.
Oh.
Manuel!
Damn.
The
Rest in
dramatic
peace, Manuel.
flashback.
Oh.
That's Reese Manuel. Doesn't even have a name. That's her name. Miss Vasquez, please try to remain calm. No! How could this? It was an accident. I've pushed at him. Mr. Hammer was doing an action scene and... No, Manuel! Oh, what the fuck? Don't touch him, Miss Vasquez. You'll be incriminated.
Yeah.
Oh, it cut out my no. That's fine.
Huh?
Huh? I went no, and then it cut out.
Oh.
No.
No, please don't die. Please. Damn. He super killed my boyfriend. Congratulations, Mr. Wright. I lose. Again. Again. Was it your jelly cups?
No. I dropped a piece of my
It better
hand.
not be.
Oh.
You and your jelly.
No, it's not jelly.
Slurping it in court.
It's not jelly.
Mr. Edgeworth, where's D. Vasquez?
Where is she? Where'd she go?
Oh.
In the waiting lobby, Your Honor, as calm and collected as ever. Uh-huh.
I see. Mr. Wright?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
Yeesh.
It appears you have brought about yet another miracle. Sorry, my bad.
It appears you have broken it down.
Oh my god, you're breaking it
Breaking
down
it
in
down.
court?
Busted it down.
Oh, holy shit.
Whoa. He's busting it down.
You can hear it.
Yeah, things are falling over.
Sorry.
Things are falling over.
I thank you, Your Honor.
He's busting and breaking it down. And by that, I mean the
Literal.
walls of his home.
The walls of the courtroom.
Yeah. I think not, Your Honor. Will Powers was innocent. That he should be found so is only natural, not a miracle. Okay, work.
Okay, I mean, I guess.
Alright, work, I guess. Shit.
Ow.
Ellipses. Are you getting beat up by Doozer?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Beat up by my
Yes.
own self.
You're right. You're right. Very
Oh
well.
my god. Like Phoenix Wright.
This court finds the defendant, Mr. Will Powers.
Not guilty!
Yay! Confetti!
Yeah!
Why did he just show up? Okay, cool.
I'm here now.
That is all. This court is adjourned.
Hell yeah.
Yahoo! Oh, today is a day to celebrate. It's October 20th.
October 20th,
October
1:12 p.m.
20th.
District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. I think I know what this is.
It's the day of all time. I don't know what to say. Should I give him? He's so happy now. Thank you so much.
I'm just glad you're okay.
I'm normal again. Yes, but it's sad.
Oh, there he goes.
I know now that Mr. Hammer stole my costume. It's bad enough that he wanted to kill Miss Vasquez. That he framed me for murder. But to think that he tried to frame me for the murder.
Uh-huh.
That's so sad.
I'm sobbing and
It
crying.
makes me sad. Tell me why, Mr. Wright. Tell me why.
Huh?
Tell me.
Why did he
Tell me
flicker?
why?
Why did he flicker like that?
Tell me why.
Maybe Mr. Hammer want to blame me. I don't
Show
have evidence,
evidence.
do I?
I don't know.
Maybe. Well,
You
check
check.
you can check the court record before showing evidence. The peeps. Is it because you're
Could
the
it be
Steel
this?
Samurai? Could it be?
Probably has something to do with Hammer's.
It could be the Samurai scrapbook because I think it's like showing how like you are the star now.
Yeah.
And he's not
Yeah.
anymore.
Show evidence.
The Bitterman.
Well, this is what I think. Mr. Hammer wanted to put the blame on you because...
Look at this.
Wait, that's not actually him though.
It's because you were the
Those
Steel
are just-
Samurai.
But it's like the symbolism of like
The symbolism,
he was
okay,
his,
fair.
like he's the star, you know.
Okay.
Even if the pictures aren't him, it's like he is the Steel Samurai.
Mm.
He is the star.
Okay. Okay.
He's bitter. Because I was the Steel Samurai?
Mr. Hammer was a big star once. But he was reduced to acting in a kid's show. And as the villain to boot.
Hey, don't fucking knock kids shows. The
Yeah.
tokusatsu go so Kamen Rider is my new hyperfixation.
Because
Anyways.
he loved the Steel Samurai.
Hell yeah.
So he hated you.
I think I understand. He could have just told me. Aw. I would have changed places with him any time.
I think you're missing the point.
I would have traded. We're literally the same height and we could fit in the costume and it's fine. Thank you. I'm just glad it's all over.
So am
And that
I.
I'm not going to jail.
So am
So am I.
So am I.
Congratulations, WP.
Oh, we haven't seen Maya in 70 years. Oh,
I know.
Oh. Hee hee. Thanks to you, I'll be able to don the Steel Samurai outfit once more. Except I won't because apparently they're canceling the show.
Oh, he didn't hear about that yet.
No,
Oh.
I can't wait to get back into that sweaty costume and.
Oh.
Oh, I'm so
Oh.
sorry about this.
Question mark. Is something wrong?
No, of course not.
No, something's very wrong.
Ah. Nick, Edgeworth.
Edgeworth,
Edgeworth incoming.
it's me, front-facing Edgeworth.
Front-facing Edgeworth can't hurt you.
Front-facing
Front-facing
Edgeworth
Edgeworth.
can't hurt you, except I will. Ellipses.
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 Say something, right?
Something.
I'll kill you. I'm not good at small talk.
Huh? What? That was too bad, Edgeworth.
You don't waste any time gloating, do you? This sprite is so good.
Sprite.
It's really good. I love when men are conflicted.
No, I really want to thank you. Vasquez would have gotten away if you hadn't stepped in.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Powers, Sniff.
Why are you sniffing him?
He's still sniffly.
Oh.
Edgeworth. I'm a big fan of your work, Mr. Powers.
Liar.
This is 100% the truth.
It's the
and
truth.
That is, in
canon.
fact,
This is the
100%
thing I
true.
remembered, was that he's a fan of
Oh
Steel
yeah, no,
Samurai.
he loves
I
the
remember
Steel
that.
Samurai. He fucking
Yeah.
loves it. I love the Steel Samurai. Right. I must say, I hadn't expected to meet you again after all these years.
Meet again?
Is this Yaoi? However,
Yeah.
in retrospect, it would have been better had we not met. Thanks to you, I am saddled with unnecessary feelings. Happy unnecessary feelings
Happy
day!
unnecessary
Happy Unnecessary
Feelings
Feelings
Day!
Day!
October 20th, mark it on your calendar. I am saddled.
Saddle.
Let me get that gif again. Wait, no, hold on. I know what to do.
Unnecessary feelings?
Give me 2 seconds. Hold on. You know, okay, I'll also read it. Yes, unease and uncertainty.
Aren't those kind of necessary?
They only serve to get in my way. Here you go. Happy unnecessary feelings. Saddled. You
Saddled.
listen to me, Phoenix Wright. Don't ever show your face in front of me again. That's what I came here to tell you. Bye.
Bye.
Mr. Wright? Are you having a yaoi moment? Was that guy your friend? Your boyfriend? Your ex?
What? Friends? As if. There's a lot more going on there, and I don't want to unpack it right now. They're rivals! Rivals! Right, Nick?
For now we are. I guess.
For now we are.
Aw.
Maybe one day we'll be together.
Why do I get the feeling I'm missing something?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Come on, Nick, tell me! What's the deal with you and Edgeworth?
The yaoi writes itself.
It really does.
It really does.
And so the curtain closed on another trial. I caused quite a
Marvel
stir by
rivals.
revealing that accident from 5 years ago. It was the talk of the town. Thankfully, Global Studios rethought its programming change. It went back to making kid shows again.
Okay.
Are you ready? This is Will Powers' new role.
For real? Nick! This is it! The new show starts today! You're going to watch it with me, right?
I'll admit, I was kind of surprised. I didn't think they'd seriously go through with it.
You have to buy trading cards too, okay? We have to trade with Cody and that assistant.
You're gonna buy me trading cards.
You're buying
Fine.
it for me.
I'll do it.
Isn't it great that WP gets to play the lead again? I wonder if they'll show his real face this time.
I don't know. I don't think the world is ready for the real willpowers.
Willpower's in the pink princess suit. Amen.
The end.
Yahoo!
Yippee.
So yeah,
Yahoo.
turnabout goodbyes.
A brand
the
new episode has
final-
been added.
He's like,
Wait, I thought this
"Ugh,
was the last
I'm
one."
so gay, and I
Question
can't
mark.
stop
Filled with
thinking about Phoenix
unnecessary
Wright.
feelings.
Oh, my unnecessary
four-
feelings.
4 is the last one for this first game.
Mhm.
Oh, what's after? Why is there a thing over there?
Huh?
Isn't there?
I think that's like
Is
a
that-
bonus.
I think that
that's a
might be
bonus
like an
one.
epilogue or something.
Oh, it's like a DLC type beat.
It might
I think
be.
so. There's a little extra one in between, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
We can probably pause after this one and do something
Yeah,
else and then come back. Type
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah.
So we'll do episode 4 and
then take our break.
Take
Take
our
a break.
break.
Do something
Play
else.
some silly games.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Because I was under the assumption, because
Yay.
I know I expected this one to be the last one, from what I'm guessing,
No.
from what I
This-
understand.
Yeah.
Nah. They
That
wouldn't
would
end
have
this
been
with
my
just
guess.
unnecessary feelings. There's more.
No,
to
not
it.
this one. The
There's
next
more.
one we're about to do is what I meant. Because
Oh,
that one looks
yes.
like the ending
No,
one.
no, no,
to
no,
me.
no, 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 no.
Plus,
No,
get
no,
it
no,
out,
no,
get out,
no,
get out of here, get
I'm
out,
trying.
get out.
Years.
I'm trying.
Close
About that.
about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
15 years is a long time to wait. You can't imagine how much I've suffered. You've suffered. But now, the perfect opportunity has presented itself. At last, I shall have my revenge. What? Merry Christmas.
What's this one?
Mary Chrysler.
Mary Chrysler.
Okay.
Okay.
December 25th. Oh, wait, say it.
No, stop. Stop.
Leave! Get out of here!
It wouldn't let me
Okay.
pause for that
Yes.
whole thing. Okay, well now we have
Yeah,
a.
so you have to watch it. This is your cliffhanger.
It's our cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Anyway, guys.
I'll leave that up.
We're the all-title fight.
Oh, I didn't know
Also
that you
for-
changed into the saddled.
Oh no, I've been like that since we. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know?
I know.
You didn't
I thought
notice?
You had just sent it to Miki or something.
No, but I needed a moment. That's what I was doing.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
My bad.
I saw it.
Yeah, Mickey saw it.
I have my eyes. You don't have
I
them.
don't have any
stole
eyes.
them. I stole them.
You did.
You took them.
You stole them from me.
Yeah, they're on my glasses that I'm wearing. See?
Yeah, the ones that you
Alt
definitely
F4.
have right
I wasn't
now.
gonna
Yeah,
alt
the ones I
F4. That would
definitely
have corrupted the
have.
whole thing. Okay. Let's see. So, is the next? I can't remember if the next one's long, like really long.
I would assume so.
I feel like it probably
It's pretty
is.
long.
We'll probably
It's pretty
get,
long.
like 3 or 4 streams out of it, maybe.
Yeah. I'd
Okay.
say about so.
I heard there was like a DLC for the first game. And I heard it's like as long as all the other cases combined.
It is. Yeah. No, I know
Oh,
it because I
shit.
remember it
Oh
vividly.
boy. I don't
So
know
we
if
could
I'm-
definitely take a break after this case.
Yeah,
Because it's like a
definitely.
separate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can probably circle back to it. We can play another series game and then
You know, a shorter series probably.
yeah,
Like
and then
Undertale?
come back to
I
yeah.
have a request, but I'll talk about that after stream.
Yeah.
Is it the one that we've been planning and thinking about, and that we were talking about what roles we were gonna be?
What?
That one isn't. That one's actually longer. There's a different one that's a bit shorter and gets a bit
Okay,
of
okay.
vocal rest. I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
All right.
Scared.
It's free.
Yay.
Okay.
You won't have to pay
All right.
anything.
Okay.
So I guess look forward to that? Question mark.
yeah, that'll be after episode 4 or like case 4.
Mickey has
Maybe, or we
devious
could do something
plans.
else.
Miki has
Mhm.
plans.
Oh, I have a couple plans. I want to see some bloodshed for real. Anyway,
Yeah. Smiling, grinning.
Teehee. Let's
Teehee?
see. Is anybody online that we can raid?
Mr. Orion.
I consumed them all.
Maybe is Mr. Orion online?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I have Twitch open.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Ryan.
Orion's online. He's been going for like 2.5-ish hours though. He's
Does it look like he's gonna?
What's
end
his
sometime soon?
average? Check his
let me look.
averages.
No, I think he's gonna go for a little while.
Okay.
Okay.
He's doing his like work studying,
His working.
doing
stream. Yeah.
working, studying, co-working stream
Okay.
where you can be productive with him.
Alright.
It's a cute little.
Where I brought that thing. Oh, I think it's over there. Okay, never mind. All right. So let's slash raid.
Sasha Raid.
Orion. Escalus.
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 Oh, Escalora.
Escalera.
Escalera. It's like, oh, the bingo.
Yeah.
You know that bit? Yes. Escalera. Oh.
Oh.
Ah, fuck.
It's like, oh, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. I love it. It's a good video.
Oh my goodness. Well, everybody, thank y'all for
Thank y'all.
coming to hang out. I'm trying to think. Is there anything other than stream next week that I can think of? I've got like stuff going on in the background, but that stuff is for
That's
later.
other stuff.
Yeah.
That might
Secret,
affect.
secret.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? It might affect
Nothing.
the course of our lives.
Of course, of our lives permanently. I'll ask
Yeah.
after stream. Actually,
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay.
something else.
All
It'll
right.
change our lives forever.
It'll change our lives forever.
Ever,
It'll
always.
it'll scar some of
Mhm.
you. It'll.
It'll be awesome.
It's gonna be great.
Awesome, epic.
All right, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and send you guys over to Orion. Do we? I don't think I've ever made a raid
No,
message.
you just kind of hang out.
Squade. Squade.
Squade.
Squade.
Squade. Squade.
No.
Um,
Squade.
Squade.
Wait.
Squade array.
I got it.
What is it, Aya?
Oh, hurry!
Hold
They're
on, do you
sending
have
them over in
emotes?
like
I
10
forget.
seconds.
Okay. You don't have squid emojis that are free.
No,
on, yeah.
I have a few, but oh, it's too late.
Yeah,
it's
There
too
they
late.
go.
Well,
Well, good night.
good night.